there. This is Atul from team K21 Academy, and in this video, I'm going to cover detailed how to get a $250K plus job building AI agents, including AI, in less than 6 months, even as a beginner, using my proven three-step framework. So this video is going to be useful if you're already working into IT or new to IT and would like to enter into IT and upskilling on one of the most in-demand skill, which is AI. So whether you're working as an architect, developer, administrator, DevOps, program manager, project manager, leadership role, this will help you to upskill. This video will help you to upskill, covering entire learning path and etc. as well. So first, we're going to begin with agentic AI or AI agents. How do you the complete path, including projects, hands-on, and then we'll go on more detailed AI if you're a complete beginner to AI, what things you should be learning. I'll be covering my three-step framework on going from complete beginner to make sure that you become an expert, get job, and then also get the interview calls and then clear those interviews in order to get, as I said, highly most in-demand skill and getting a very high-paying job, more than 250K thousand in US, Canada, UK, or whatever country you are appropriately. Now, these exactly the same steps following the same three-step framework have helped hundreds and thousands of individuals like you who have gone this, like Shrija, who's after struggling to find a job in Canada, landed a job in AI ML, or SJ, who not only her husband got a job, but she almost doubled her salary learning or using this three-step framework. Or someone like Shovik, who got a job as a senior enterprise architect in US. Or Kennedy here in UK got a job as a senior or upgraded himself and as a senior technical advisor role. Or Dinesh, who now working as a technical program manager, learning these exact steps as well. This will also work if you're not from IT, like Tolu, who moved from non-IT to IT, working in Canada now as an architect on here. Also, it'll work if you said, "Oh, I don't have any coding or programming background," because I'm going to tell you the no-code, low-code tools which will help you or different job roles that doesn't require any coding or programming, even in AI job roles as well. Or someone like who I have a career gap. How Meghna covered or gone from having a career gap as well. So very, very detailed. Or someone who's struggling to get interview calls, even interview calls like Joby, who've moved from US to Southern Australia, struggling to get interview calls after following this same exact steps, which I'm going to discuss in this detailed video on getting end-to-end, started getting interview calls and get a job within a couple of weeks itself as well. Or someone like Kwame would like to relocate to US, or Winfred, or Danielle, Vaishali, Obina, of hundreds and hundreds thousands like this. So pay attention. This is going to be a very, very detailed video, very lengthy video, but also so that you get entire path and you can pick. Also, there'll be timeline below this video and under the description section, so you can jump on a specific part. But I highly recommend you to watch this, save this video and watch it maybe one or twice thoroughly in detailed way. So as I said, it's not one, two, three, hundreds and thousands of guys, like 45,000 back in by 2023, and we are now uh, uh, growing exponentially on that. So that's what you're going to learn as well. So with that, let's begin first of all who this video is for. As I said, someone who's already working in IT or and ready to upskill into AI, machine learning, data science, data scientist, generative AI agents, machine learning, ML ops, all those different type of roles. Or you're new to IT and would like to enter into IT with this AI skills as well, and you want to grow. And these are four salary ranges which we cover, going from one level to up level, next level as well. And as I said, there are lots and lots of high paying job which I'm going to cover in this video led part. The domain I've already mentioned. In these domains we are going to cover, and the roles we are going to look at is kind of a leadership roles. You're working as a director, VP, senior VP roles. What kind of a skills you need to be learning in AI? If you're working as a project manager, program manager, technical project manager, product manager, what are things you should be learning? Or you're an architect, which could be solution architect, AI architect, enterprise architect, what all things you should be learning? Or would like to become an AI consultant or an AI engineer or an AI developer, or working on support or administrator, or SRE, DevOps. Now roles have been transitioned into ML ops, AI ops, those kind of a jobs as well will be helpful as well. So these are the job roles, which are, as I said, executive leadership, TPMs, project manager, architect, engineer, developer, DevOps, and what are the job titles and skills. And later part, we're going to also look at the actual job roles or kind of a companies that are hiring in these and what skills you should be learning. So maybe pause this, look at that, and I'm going to go deeper into these parts as well. So what I want to do is quickly make a note of what kind of a domain you want to go, and then what the kind of a salary things you want to cover. Towards end, I'm going to give you an option to have a, if you're the right person and who are really, really inspired and want to once understand this, and if you want to work with my team, we'll give you an option to how, if you need any guidance and support, uh, um, w- I'll give you an option to how you can get hold of my team with the description or link below in this video. With that, let's look at, first of all, what we're going to learn as well. So we'll begin with, first of all, why are learning AI. A lot of guys are saying, hey, there are job losses, but all these jobs are transitioning to AI. So how you can get hold of that AI skills that you need to get a good paying job as well. And we'll also look at in the context of AI agent as well that you see. Why, as I said, everyone's talking about agent, AI agents, AI, what that is. We'll also look at the jobs available in different countries like US, Canada, UK, Europe, Middle East, India, Singapore, whatever the country you are, what are the job available in, also in different job role, different types as well, different categories as well. Also, what kind of a salaries you can expect on that. Now, when I say you can earn in excess of 250,000, a lot of guys have reservations, a lot of constraints, and trust me, I myself have gone through that journey myself, a lot of limiting beliefs. So we cover, called as a three-part process. First is we take you from not being confident to making super confident, and we'll do it in two methods, which will cover a little bit part in this. The second, so we take you from not confident to super confident on covering what will hands-on lab, the project-based learning, and the relevant certification, which will give you that confidence so you can start applying for the jobs. So in that, we are going to look at things like understanding the entire AI project life cycle and entire machine learning life cycle. And this is good for if you're working on a leadership roles or on a project manager, program manager roles. Also, you're working in an architect or solution architect, you should be doing. Now, in my view, everyone should understand the concepts, and in that concepts, things like foundation model, LLMs, the RAG, LangChain, vector databases, uh, more advanced things as well. So you should be learning implementation of those in cloud as well. So that's what you'll be covering later part. Also, when I say what an LLM means and what are the common LLMs, which are large language models, we'll see that in this video, what you should be learning as well. You should also be familiar with prompt engineering. Some people might think, oh, just asking question, but there's a lot more goes, things like zero shot, long shot, chain of thoughts, tree of thoughts, and few shots, and so on. Because when you build AI agents or build generative AI based applications, LLM based applications, autonomous AI based applications, these prompt engineering plays a big, big role as well. We'll also talk about what a RAG is and why should be learning, because again, very, very important, or what an AI agent are, multi-agent frameworks, like what are the multi-agent frameworks, what does mean, and how you should be building. We'll also be learning things like or libraries and frameworks like LangChain, LangGraph, LangSmith, which are very, very hugely popular in developing that. Now, if you're a developer, you should be knowing in and out of that. If you're an architect, you should know enough about so you can discuss and see what these are. If you're project manager, program managers, you should know about it. You may not go deeper, but these are the kind of things I'm going to cover inside this video for you. Also, if you're someone like who doesn't like coding or programming, there are a lot of low code, no code tools. If you're working like business analyst or someone who wants to just quickly build an application, there are a lot of low code, no code tools to build AI agents. So we'll talk about that. Also, as I said, there'll be link for Agentic AI, there'll be brochure, but Agentic AI is for someone who already are into AI or machine learning. We'll talk about that as well. Now, once that's done, the cloud is very, very important because these AI tools need underlying work, underlying compute, storage, and a lot of infrastructure. So two hugely popular cloud are AWS from Amazon and Azure from Microsoft. We'll talk about that, what the entire AWS Gen AI, Agentic AI stack on AWS cloud. Things like Bedrock, SageMaker, which one to use when we'll be talking about, including the certifications related to AI, machine learning on AWS cloud. Then we'll move towards second most important or biggest popular cloud, which from Microsoft, which is Microsoft Azure. They have the Azure AI Foundry, which is the AI platform from that, or Machine Learning Studio to go more advanced. We'll talk about that as well, including the certifications that you should be knowing in AI ML as well part. Then we'll move for all my administrators, DevOps engineers, SRE engineers, or day-to-day person who's working on operations, operationally, what an machine learning operations, AI operations that you should be doing. Now, if you worked on, as I said, DevOps, you might be familiar with CI and CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery, deployment. Similar to that, additional part CT, which is continuous training, MLOps, you will be working on. So how do you transition from your DevOps or SRE? And if you're not working on DevOps SRE, if you're still working on compute, normal storage, sysadmins, this is the domain you should be doing. So CI and CD for MLOps, or CI/CD or CT for MLOps as well. How to become become a master in MLOps if you're working on towards that role, kind of a role as well. But if you're a project manager, program manager, senior leadership role, will have something about leaders, what they should be doing, the whole project plan, right from initiation or requirement gathering to all the way implement and running and constantly improving that project whole AI for project manager leaders as well. So that you get a job like Dinesh, as I said, talking about. I'll bring these guys again to say that whatever I'm going to talk about is not just theory, but also implementation and also tried and tested by hundreds and thousands of individuals like you inside the program that we run to help you on that. So got a job as a technical program manager. So that's about not being confident or super confident learning, project-based learning and relevant certification. And I'll tell you also give you some tips on how towards end, how you can learn all this quickly as well. Then we'll go from the second part of that challenge, which is say, hey, I now know I'm applying for the jobs, but not getting interview call. And that is where we take you from not getting interview call to weekly interview calls. And we do two phases. One is a resume and second is LinkedIn. We'll be talking about those. We'll also talking about 5 mistakes you might be costing you your interviews and the reason why you're not getting interview calls, including one thing I see lots and lots of guys are either not aware or don't do enough follow up with the recruiters and potential. So I'll talk about how do you identify those recruiters so that every time you apply the job, you also follow up through LinkedIn as well as the emails as well. We'll talk about that as well. And that will help you from not being confident to going super confident. And you get like Ronnie, as I said, is that uh, the process or things I'm going to cover in this video will help you to get an opportunity and start feeling confident that you start getting interview calls like Ronnie. Once that's your resume is fixed, second challenge is 90% job is fixed in resume, but there are still 10% that is where your LinkedIn plays very, very important. If you don't have a LinkedIn, if you're applying for the jobs or it's outdated, I would highly recommend you to look focus on your LinkedIn as well. That's the second part, which is a 13-point checklist we'll be talking about in this video. As I said, it's going to be very detailed with timelines. So pay attention, save this, and come back and watch it thoroughly in one setting or come back in two settings. Very, very important. So 13-point checklist, including 3 key points which are important, including how do you build an authority. So not just write very simple way. How do you write? So we'll take some examples of our clients who we helped in order to post in content so that when you go to the interviews or when they see your LinkedIn profile, they know that this is what I'm going to, this is the guy who's my right person. I'll be interviewing that. And this is, and then also the things I'm going to cover will help you to reach so that recruiters reach out to you. So things like Michael, if you've seen, I did my homework and updated my LinkedIn profile. And as soon as I did that, I started getting interview calls. Or another one here from here, Prasad is saying that great company. Oh, after changing my LinkedIn and resume, companies started following up me. TCS and Full Stack are offering 250K plus job in excess of, and you'll have much, much higher rates as well. So that's second part. Third part, then we'll go ahead and saying if you're once you start getting interview calls, then the next struggle is about not able to clear those interviews. And trust me, I've done that myself. I've been working in IT for more than 2.5 decades now. So, and I work as a contractor, freelancer, working with multiple clients. So I know how to get a job very quickly. And because I rotate my job out of every couple of years, not just because I want to, not because I don't have those enough continuity, but because I want to keep learning and keep working on new latest skills. So going from no job offer to multiple job offers. And that is where we'll talk about the mock interviews, both tech and behavioral interviews, and how do you excel that will give an opportunity as well. So these mock interviews as well, so that you're hired like Yash got a 6 offers and cleared 6 interviews in LA as well. Or like Shruti got a job as a mid-senior, or Varun got a job as well. So I have tons and tons of stories like that. But very quickly, if you're new to this channel or new, my name is Atul, as I said at the start. I have more than 2.5 decades of experience. I've gone from earning less than $100 to 900 in excess of £1,000 I'll charge now. And these are so whatever I'm going to talk about, I've done this all this as well. I'm based in London, and I've primarily from India, moved to UK back in 2004. And since then, I've been working here working with some of the big clients like Royal Bank of Scotland or WorldPay or Atradius in Netherlands or ICC in Switzerland or Scottish government in Edinburgh or Toyota in Brussels or as far as in US like Pepperdine or Tucson Electric Powers or American Excel or again in Imperial College in London or I've also worked remotely with consulting and helping clients on Bank of Somalia or Saudi Railways as well. So this is just to give you a glimpse of whatever you're going to learn. I've done those. I've transitioned from knowing nothing or earning less than $100 a month back in India in 2000, 2001, 2002. 3 years, I was a mechanical engineer. If I can do transitioning from a mechanical engineer to IT and then transition every phase to earning, coming here, transitioning to UK, going from earning less than or $100 a month, as I said, to 425 pounds a day to 700 pounds to 900 pound I charge now premium amount working multiple clients. So that's what I'm going to share. Now, it is not hanky panky. It was all not up and ups. Or as you see in the graph, there'll be lots of downs and dips and ups. I'm going to talk about the challenges, the mistakes I did so that you don't have to do that same mistake which I did in past. So I'm going to talk about as we progress towards end, what mistakes I did and how you can avoid those as well. And so this is what we're going to do. As I said, I want to be also very conscious of the time. If I'm going slow, maybe fast forward, you can play 1.5x on the video. If I'm going fast, you can slow it down. I speak very fast. I get very, very excited because this IT changed my life. Trust me, as I said. And so without any delays, let's focus and make notes on this. So first we're going to begin with is why you should be learning AI and AI agents. So AI, as you say, it's a hugely growing market and it's being going to grow as per the analysts by 2030 to 1.3 trillion market. It's a huge, huge market that is going to grow exponentially. There's no industry which is untouched on without AI. And within that, now it was 2023 was year of generative AI, and now we're going for agentic AI. What an agentic AI? What is AI agents? We'll go to talk about that as well. And pretty much everyone, any industry you see, people will start using AI agents. They're already there. People are using them, and how you can get hold of that as well. So if you see now, all the expert that you saw, whether it's Bill Gates or Satya Nadella or CEO of on NVIDIA, you'll see everyone is talking about now agentic AI or AI agents or AI whole process about AI. And you will see whether it's SaaS, whether it's any banking, telecom, finance, the industry you see, you'll see those. We'll talk about AI as well. 69 million jobs are emerging next 5 years, just about from AI alone itself as well. Big banks, telecoms, public sector, whatever the industry you see, you have tons and tons of jobs. All you need to do is go to the Google and search for AI jobs in whatever country you are, whether it's US, UK, Canada, India, Singapore, Middle East, Europe, whatever you see, the thousands and thousands of jobs in AI. And also, as I said, agentic AI, just type AI agents, you'll see tons and tons of jobs. Now, I just say there are different job roles which you'll be seeing depending on the background you are, and it's for everyone, whatever your domain might be as well. Now, why I'm talking about is that in AI, the biggest part about AI is it touches everyone, but uh, the someone who's in IT with AI skills. So AI is going to be grow in every industry, but if you're in IT guys are typically get more 44 anything from 40 to 50% or 40 to 47% higher compared to within IT those who don't have AI knowledge. So AI knowledge will always earn uh, more than 40 to 45% extra than without AI knowledge. So I highly, highly recommend to you, if you're not already there, start working on that. As I said, I'm going to not repeat that, pause this and say, what is the job role for you? Think of it, and I'm going to, in this video, I'm going to cover everything, right from what all things you should be knowing at a role you are. So, as I said, there are leadership roles in AI. If you see now E&Y, or this is on Royal Bank of Canada, this is director level, senior leadership level. There are jobs at leadership level. What you should be doing, we'll be looking into that. Or there are for AI for project manager, program manager job roles. There are job roles for, so this is an example of JP Morgan Chase for technical project manager, program manager. And what you will be implementing, you should be doing. There are jobs for AI architect. If you see here now, HCL, uh, there's a Google Cloud. Google is hiring. You name a company, In IT, there'll be another one, ENY here, hiring the jobs as well. So the things they will be asking will be covering some topics of that within this video about what are skills you should be learning. Here's a job from T-Mobile, or solution architect from IBM, or Zip which is hiring for architects as well. There's another job here for machine learning, people hiring for machine learning engineers and supports as well. Also, there are a lot of jobs. I started my career as a database administrator. Those roles then transition to admin, middleware, and security. So there are a lot of admin roles, support roles. There is a machine learning operations role. There is a SRE and DevOps, as I said, has been transitioned to machine learning. So we'll talk about what all things you should be learning on machine learning operations part as well. Then there are developer roles. There are a lot of um, plenty of developer roles, and where Python will be helpful. We'll talk about that as well. So developer role. This is an example of Agentic AI. There are new protocols are building up as well at the time of recording this. MCP was there, is there now. A2A is there. And then what all AWS, Google, AWS, Azure, what all things that you should be learning, whatever CI/CD you were doing on for software development, now coming with CI/CD and CD, which is on AI development part as well. There are tester job because you need testers and QA professionals as you're doing for in AI as well. So there are tons and tons of AI tester job as well. Now, business analyst, if you're working on an analyst, you need someone to bridge between the business and the actual implementation guys who are implementing, designing, implementing that. So there'll be tons and tons of jobs in business analyst. Another one here for if you see now, you can pause this recording, look at that, or just go and Google on Google simple search, or LinkedIn or Google on search for business analyst, AI business analyst jobs and so on. So this is an example of business analyst on agentic AI jobs. What all day-to-day responsibilities you should be doing. Now, that is the job roles, and these job roles are, trust me, are pay very, very high. It's most in demand skill. If you see now, OpenAI, I've taken a screenshot from it. It's a couple of years old, and jobs have, the companies are paying much, much more than that as well. So 405,000 or 600, 650,000. And there are also, if you work with a startup, the startups are getting a lot of fundings, so they pay huge, huge amount as well. But I'm not, so this is, I also want to be realistic as well. So set expectations right. It'll not happen overnight. So you will gradually grow, but you can directly go on, and someone guys who are already on high, you can further enhance as well. So these are more realistic job salaries, 300,000 or 265,000 or 257,000, 240,000. These are some of the companies who are paying good as well. And I'm talking about the old data, which is saying as it's mature, more and more higher pays are coming with AI as well. So with that, I hope it's clear so far to you, and I'm making sense as well. Now we are going to transition into what you should be learning on this AI skills. So what you need to learn, there are two parts and two options. First option I'm talking about is going for directly AI, agentic AI mastery. So this is where if you're already working into AI or machine learning and know what needs to be done, then you can directly jump on agentic AI. Or hey, you want to just focus on one specific part of AI because AI is huge, which we'll see as we go move into this. One is about agentic AI, which is just focused one part of the AI, which is agentic AI. So that's what you're going to look. So first, what you need to be doing is you should be first familiar with the whole entire agentic AI lifecycle. What I mean by agentic is AI agents, which we'll see in a minute. These are autonomous AI agents, or AI agents which work autonomously, doing the job on your behalf as a user or a system or IT systems as well. So what you do, you begin with scoping the requirement where you do define the use cases. Then you select something called as LLMs, large language models. What that is, we'll cover that in a minute. And then you pick kind of a right agent. There are different type of agents and advanced version, and we'll see that what an agent as well. And then you pick the associated tools that will be tying up these tools agents together as well. So you pick that, then you come to the design part, and then you see what kind of a design agent design you'll be picking, what kind of a systems you're going to put in place as well. Then once that is done, then you do also look at other things which are required around that agent. So how do you security handles? What is guardrail, which is to protect that they follow the standard practice that you need to follow. Also, there's a observability, which is nothing but logging, monitoring, management, and so on. So typical operations work that you do that. And then once that's done, you also need to make sure that it's you're testing QA and it's performing as you expect it to, those agents to perform, and evaluation as well. And once that's done, you go and implement that in production, and then you observe and operate and manage. So you deploy and then do day-to-day operations management as well. So this is a typical software life cycle. Same thing you're doing on agentic life cycle as well. So this is what I'm going to talk about is agentic life cycle. There are 5 phases we define to make it simple, where you first phase is you learn the basic concepts, things like Gen AI, machine learning, LLMs, prompt engineering, and RAG. Once you do, then you go and understand the agent specific basics, like in terms of what is an agents are, what are the lang chain, lang frame, lang graph, etc. Understanding the architecture of agents. And then you go for low code, no code tools like Make or N8N, or there are other tools which are available on market, or CrewEye and so on. Then you go, once you build using low code, no code, or simple code, then you go for more advanced agents, which are multi-agent frameworks as well. And then you go for monitoring management, and then you go associated project work as well. So this is what we're going to look at agentic. These are the projects, 5 projects we recommend, but go what is right and relevant for you as well. So with that, let's first begin the first concept, what is AI, machine learning, deep learning. I'm going to go super high level so that and then if any questions, queries, you can post in the comment, or you can ask more questions as well. So the first high level is AI, things on top level. Below that, that comes machine learning. And within machine learning, there's a different type of machine learning, supervised, unsupervised reinforcement. It's for the geeks, it's for the guys who are more going on deeper level in that. If you're a management level, just understand there's AI subset of that is machine learning. Below that machine learning is a deep learning, and that is where you do identify, for example, pattern recognition, face recognition, object recognition, and so on. I'm talking all this in a very, very simple terms. Of course, there's a much more deeper things that you do. Then you go for generative AI, as the name suggests below that. It's something you're generating. It could be text, it could be image, it could be video, it could be something which is generating the code as well. And within that, you have LLMs, large language models for generation. Below that, there is a RAG, which is a retrieval augment generation. Why that is, I'm going to cover separately because it's a topic which you should be knowing, understanding, which is very, very important if you're working in AI. And then nowadays, becoming agents, you should be learning agents. What that is, autonomous systems on which is doing some work on your behalf. We'll go a little bit deeper on that. So first, understand all these concepts from agentic AI. Now, within that, you should be learning something called vector databases. What is vector? Again, I'm not going to go deeper as well. And again, if you're a leadership role, you don't need to worry about. But if you're a geek, if you're a developer, if you're an architect, if you are someone who's going to manage that vector databases, you need to know what is vector and how do you state, how do you, the vector databases are, how do you create them. There are tokens as well. So things like foundation models, attestations, embeddings, and then those things you should be, the basic concepts, you should be familiar on that. Now, once you have these basic concepts, one of the common concept is about LLMs, large language models. And these models are nothing but they tell you, they help, these are built by companies on a pre-trained, on a inter-scale data, so they can generate language skills, things like language generation, translation, or question answers, chatbots that you see. So that's a LLM. And these LLMs are coming from companies like OpenAI. They had GPT-3 and GPT-4. The chat GPT you see built on generative pre-trained transformers, which is from, as a time of recording this, there's a GPT-4 version coming. Or there's a Hugging Face, which is nothing but an open source platform to build all these or to bring these LLMs, which are open source available for users, for like guys like you and me to use. Now, if you're an architect, you should know, if you're an architect, developer, administrator, you should know how to bring how to invoke these LLMs, how to use those LLMs as well. There's another one, Claude, which is quite famous from Anthropic. Then you have Gemini from Microsoft. Sorry, Gemini from Google, sorry. And then you have a LLM, Llama from Facebook or Meta. And there are hundreds and hundreds of those now companies are building within these different different things. But these are things that you should be learning. And if you're part of the program, if you're part of things that you probably I'll be talking about, we cover all these things, how to invoke them, what these are, which one to use when. So if you're designing the systems, you should be using what all LLMs you should be might be using, or you might be using multiple LLMs based on the requirement as well. So that's first part. You should be making sure yourself familiar with LLMs. Then you should be doing prompt engineering. So different type of prompt engineering, because prompts will be the one which will be dictating and building your AI system. So different type of, as I said, chain of thought, tree of thought will be asking questions based on some suggestions you're giving. So make sure that you understand this prompt engineering as well. Now, this is what I'm going to talk about is RAG will on a minute here. So if you look at a RAG, which is a retrieval augment generation, typically what happens is, as I said earlier, LLMs, which are trained on an internet scale data, they only talk about or aware of the data that is available to them on which is available publicly. Now, but in actual use cases, you have your own data, and then you want these AI agents or AI system to talk and look at your data, data specific to you, and then provide answers or do some generation based on that, whatever you do. So one method is to retrain these models based on your data, which could be very, very expensive affair. The better way of is you have a knowledge base, or you have the data, you put the data, and then you tell your LLMs to look at that data securely. And of course, there are other things. That's where the security comes into picture. And so you point it to your LLMs onto that knowledge base and say, hey, provide the answer. So provide whatever you want to do based on this data which I'm talking about. That's a RAG. So take an example. We have typically, if we want to build a system which I'm already building for our clients to help on AI agents, they can look at all my tickets which have been done in last 4, 5, 7 years. We have around more than 10,000 tickets where we help and answers our clients in the past. So build the responses or reply or help to client like I'm replying based on these answers that we have done in the past and improve on that. So that's called as RAG. You should be knowing and becoming familiar, or having an idea about RAG as well. So that's RAG that you should be familiar with. Now, that then comes agents. Or agents are nothing but, think of it as a system or a program or something which is working autonomously and performing tasks on behalf of you or a user or the system. Now, agent will have an human interactions. You can put in human interaction. It will work autonomously. It will also be react to the environment systems in which the context in which it's talking about. It has its own memory, so it can do the work as well. It can also delegate the task to other systems. It can make API calls to the other systems. API, which is nothing but application programming interface, the way to talk to other systems and programs and codes as well. It can also intercept the code. It can do access internet. These things are called tools that will be working and available as well. Now, there are different type of agents. So as I said, for conscious of the time, also wanted to keep it high level. There are different type of agents you can apply. So to find out which, when you're implementing as an architect, as an administrator, as a developer, or someone who's designing these systems, you should be knowing and familiar which type of agents you'll be applying or implementing. Now, there are different type of patterns available on that, and depending on, there's a single agent and there's a multi-agent where you have more than one agent talking to each other. So there are patterns like React, which is reasoning and acting, or plan and execute, conversational agent, tool calling agent. So you need to make sure that you're familiar with these patterns and to see and decide which one to pick at what stage as well, depending on if you're a project manager, at least you should know. So you can ask your architect these questions. Have you thought about these patterns? Which one you're implementing? Why we're implementing? If you're an architect, this is what you should be doing. If you're an administrator, you to understand those things. If you're a developer, you will be actually coding and invoking based on the patterns being designed by an architect, and programming and coding into tools like Python or LangChain. Or LangChain is nothing but a framework within Python that will be doing and talking and invoking as well. Then there are multi-agent LangGraph and so on. So you should be knowing about these patterns. Now, one of the common tool you'll be using is a LangChain, which is nothing but a framework to develop these applications, which are LLM based applications. We call systems built on large language models. So LLM I've already mentioned, but then they have prompts. We already looked at the queries or prompt engineering that we talk about. Now LLMs have memory as well. Sorry, these that it can talk. It has LangChain is nothing but connecting and talking to all these things, where a framework to chain the different models, LLMs, prompts, and talking to these systems each with each other. There's also documents and loaders and utility that are available. So what happens is typically you have documents which are which you'll be using in your agents or AI-based applications. I'm going to go, as I said, very high level, and there'll be separate videos I'll be creating if I to go deeper into these systems as well. Now, typically, very simple use case, you have one agent. Now in the era which we are running, there'll be multiple agents talking to each other. So these agents, how the agent they talk to each other, there are frameworks available for that. I've already mentioned about LangGraph from LangChain, the guys who built LangChain. So that's one framework that are available. There's another one, Crew AI, which is more graphical user-based interface. There's also the framework from Microsoft. They have AutoGen as well, these multi-agent where multiple agents talk to each other as well. So I've already mentioned about LangGraph. Make sure you're familiar with LangGraph if you're building the what do you call, multi-agent applications, which you probably might be. If you're a developer, make sure you're familiar with. If you're an architect, familiarity with these models as well. As I said already, AutoGen from Microsoft. Crew AI, more drag and drop graphical user-based interface as well. Now, you should also familiar with, if you're designing, implementing project management or leadership role, which one to pick, what scenarios, and why you should be picking, what use cases you'll be doing, making sure you're familiar with the concepts point as well. Also, as I said, there are a lot of no code, low code. The common ones are N8N and Make. These are for your agentic AI based workflows to hook together, integrate together as well. And there are other tools which I've already mentioned for from agent point of view, Crew AI and Relevance AI as well. I'm going to not go deeper because of the time. You can pause this and go through that just on a read about what that Make does, or what an N8N does, what a Crew AI does, or what a Relevance AI as well does as well. So these are tools available for agent-based application that you're building. Now, there are also other tools like from AWS. You have from Amazon AWS, they have Bedrock, which is a generative AI based tool, or you can say the service which will build generative AI based applications. They have Bedrock agent now embedded into that your systems. Also similar to that, and from Microsoft, they have AI Foundry, which is the developer platform from Microsoft. They have agents now can leverage and use and onwards as well. I've already mentioned about multi-agent framework. Now, once you have the basic agents and multi-agent, then you can start building more advanced AI agents like for RAG, multi-agent, and more advanced workers you can build as well. Now, later part, as I said, uh, I was talking about that brochure. You can download the whole thing. You can download. In that, we talk about building multi-agent advanced agents work as well. So you have three systems or three agents talking to each other. This is an example use cases of from AWS. How do you implement those advanced multi-agent framework? Some of these things I'm going to cover in my future videos on talk about as well. Now, once you build the agents, you should also know observability platform. You need a platform to manage and build your application. So you can do on a laptop, but also Langsmith provide an entire platform to build your LLM based applications. That also provides all the LangChain and LangGraph I've already mentioned. But on top of that, observability, management, evaluation, prompt engineering, they provide all those things at platforms. You can build those. So go and try that out as well. Also, there is a LangFuge, which is to open source LLM engineering platform for traces, evaluation, prompt engineering, metrics, debug. You want to make sure that your agents are working and behaving. That's what you should be implementing as well. Now, that's a conceptually very 30,000-foot view you should be knowing and understanding. Of course, you learn by implementing. That's why you should be implementing these 20 hands-on lab at the time of recording this. I'm recommending you to do where you understand these concepts that we have learned by implementing. So how do you access these LLMs? Then also, how do you do the prompt engineering, both basic as well as more advanced? How do you actually implementing those prompt engineering to generate text, generate image, generate storage, generate videos, etc. as well. Now, how do you implement and build vector databases? Another one, how to integrate with FAISys, which is Facebook AI Similarity Search, for NSS. Now again, don't go. I don't want to go and worried about right now at the stage about what these concepts are, but understand that this is something you need to be implementing, understanding how do you implement RAG using LangChain, how do you build a custom RAG, which I mentioned. So you take a use case where you have some your custom knowledge base and how to integrate that as well. So that's part about doing phase one foundation labs. Now, once you have done and built these basic things, then you're going to go actually implement by building your first AI agent using LangChain, which is a common framework that I mentioned earlier, or build self-improving agent, which will improve based on the previous data that worked and or answers that is given or worked. You maybe use some of those patterns which are mentioned using a LangChain and LangGraph as well. Now, there's another one which is Smaller agent, sorry, this is from Facebook, so you can use and learn libraries using that. That will also be helpful for that. So you do these, build your first basic agents, and then you go for building agent. So this was again programmatically. Again, if you're not a developer or if you're more an architect or administrator, I still want you to see the pattern, how do you invoke these libraries and frameworks, but from an understanding point of view. But if you're a developer, go deeper dive into. So I always recommend at least understand how these agents talk to each other or other agents, or the how do they call and invoke, how do you invoke these agents and so on, how do you implement and deploy that as well. Now once you've done the programmatically, you can go and look at from low code no code tools which I mentioned earlier. Then once that's done, then you go and build more advanced agents using multi-agent frameworks that I mentioned, LangGraph or AutoGen or the tools of your choice. And then once that's done, if you're more an administrator, more an ops person or MLOps person, then you'll be doing deployment of those, testing and checking those on the day-to-day operations that you're doing for applications. You go and deploy that and use some of the tools that I mentioned here as well. So these are the hands-on lab that will help you to understand this part as well. Now, if you're part of a program, if you're part of Agentic AI, we cover all these hands-on lab. We give you all the hands-on lab if you're part of that. So this is another example of where you're actually building a vector database. We give you the source code and testing and telling you how do you implement those, and we support and guide you and help you on this. This is another one where we used on building an entire gym appointment based system. So you can show in your experience as in that you have done those projects as well, as a very detailed hands-on lab where we go and look at these some of the hands-on lab. So these are actually learning, but learning, as I said, at the phase one of that is project-based learning. So we recommend these agents that you can build if you're working on a HR-based applications. Now, these are the 5 projects we recommend for AI agents. Now, you rather than doing all the 5, do what depending on the industry in which you're applying for the job. So if you're applying for a job which is for fintech, for the financial institute, banks, telecom, or insurance and so on, you do the second project, which is AI powered financial advisor agent, and then put in a resume saying that you have done this project as a proof of concept. If you're working for applying for a legal company, then you go for and apply, do this particular thing. If you're doing more for a healthcare, then you put this kind of a project. If you're doing for e-commerce, do this, build an agent, end-to-end agent, and show that this is what you've done as a proof of concept. So they not only you've not just learned, but you've implemented that as a project, end-to-end project as well. So do these one of these projects on here. We give you all these projects as well. Now, this is just a AI agent, but what we've realized is that in jobs, companies are looking for how to implement this agentic AI on the cloud as well. So if you see whether it's AWS cloud or Azure cloud, and this is where you have a Bedrock, which is mainly for generative AI based applications, in that they have a Bedrock agent. How do you implement that Bedrock agent? You do learn that, and that will become bonus in your interview. So you can talk about that and say, hey, not only learned this, you have not only design, implement, develop, implement, but also now you do it, how to do it on cloud, AWS cloud as well. Similar to that, Microsoft, as I said at the start, has a AI Foundry, which is a AI developer platform for them. How do you build those applications on AI? Within that, there are agentic AI based within the tool available. And similarly for Google, Google has a Vertex AI, which another tool, which how do you implement that? So that's first part. For someone who is already working to AI, they are familiar with that, and all you need to do is learn how to build agentic AI. This is the option one. I'm going to talk about a little bit later. We run a program where we go at the time of recording this, we have this 13 module, 30 plus hands-on lab, which is going. This is just a beginner part. We'll go more advanced. There'll be much more than that. There'll be 20 plus hands-on lab, 5 project, and a live interactive sessions which we do at the time of, and we only do 25 in a batch in each cohort. And at the time of recording, we started just launched a couple of days back, and out of which we did as a proof of concept for a small group. At the time of us recording, 11 seats were gone, and we only 14 seats. How do you get hold of that? I'll talk about towards end of this video as well. So these are hands-on lab. You get all the 20 hands-on lab. You get all the 5 projects which you do uh, implement based on what you look, and you can put in your resume as an experience. This is how a portal look like. You will have live interactive sessions. So these will be live interactive sessions. The recording will be available, and all the labs, everything will be available immediately for you. Now, what makes us different from? You might have a lot of other options. We'll give it high level on. First of all, there's a weekly live interactive sessions. On top of that, there are well-done videos, step-by-step instructions. So you learn whether you want to learn live or recording will be available for those live sessions. So if you miss a session, you don't need to worry about, you'll get recording. You have unlimited retake for 1 year, which means agents will, there'll be a lot of evaluation on entire AI. So you can come back again and again for the entire 1 year, and you keep learning. And as we enhance the the program, you'll get access to that as well. There'll be post-session recording, so you never miss any session as well. There'll be WhatsApp and ticketing system. So you'll get a support via our WhatsApp. We have groups, and so you get something which you can help and answer quickly within that. I'll be there, my team will be there, there'll be a lot of other experts will be there, other colleagues will be there. Also, we have a ticketing system. We use Zendesk as a ticketing system. So anything that can't be resolved within shortly, we go and help you with the ticketing system. Also, as I said, regular program enhancement. There'll be extensive hands-on project, and we also build your own. If you bring your own, as long as relevant, helping with the job will bring and implement and help you on that. And we have, as I said, not one, two, three. By last year, we had more than 45,000 happy clients as well. Now, some of the common asked questions: what is the duration of the program? Um, I think probably around 8 to 12 weeks are more than enough to learn end-to-end in AI agent, but I never count number of days, hours, as long as you become comfortable building AI agents or AI systems. We'll talk about a little bit later. Now, how much time you spend? Uh, the current at the time of recording this, we are doing a weekday batch, but then we'll also have, after this, we'll start weekend batch. So we'll have a weekday or weekend. We'll rotate between these two, weekend and weekday. Weekday, it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or a couple of days in a week. At the time of recording this, I'm doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 90-minute class, it'll be session timing are here, but they're subject to change. So be aware of that. And we're also doing weekend, which is a 3 hours class as well. Now, can I continue learning after this course ends? Absolutely. As I said, we want you to be in the program, constantly learning, upgrading. You have entire 1 year, which is more than enough for you. Do I need a coding knowledge for this? Now, if you're a developer, we'll teach you Python and we go deeper. If you're non-developer, there are a lot of tools available. Um, mm, so for if an architect, if an administrator, business analyst or consultant, we I still want you to understand the how the frameworks and libraries. You don't need to code them, but you need to learn, understand how you'll be building systems as well. But there are a lot of no-code, low-code tools as well. We're giving Python specifically required for building AI agent as a bonus, absolutely free, so you can learn and understand as well. Now, is it a live? Yes, live cohort interactions, but then also recording will be available as well. Now, what guarantee? If you do decide, my all my programs comes with a money back guarantee. It's a 6 months, no question, 6 months full money back guarantee. But there's a you need to do the work. If you don't do the work, you will not get value. And don't come just to try out in the programs. I am very particular about, as long as you attend the sessions or watch the recording, complete the hands-on lab and do the project, and ask for help whenever you need it. And if you think it was not valuable, as long as you've done the work, just share the screenshot that you've done the hands-on lab project. We'll give you full money. That's how confident I am on providing value as well. So that's pretty much, um, this is, if you want, get a brochure. This is part one for someone who's already working into AI part. And with that, we're going to go much more in-depth 3-step framework program, which is AI, machine learning, generative AI, agentic AI. Go from complete beginner who are complete new, leadership roles, architect roles, developer roles, DevOps roles, MLOps roles, and including 8 certifications, which hugely popular. So that's part two of this phase, which are, so whatever, this is the 3-step framework which I've mentioned. I'm going to go deeper into one by one. That will not only make you from complete beginner to an expert in this, but also very super confident so you can apply for the job and then we'll talk about those problems and challenges which I mentioned at the start. We'll be covering with that. So as I said, in order for you to get it in excess of 250K plus job, the first challenge is not confident to super confident. And we do in two phases. One is a project-based learning and relevant certifications as well. So let's pick this first part, which is step one here. Here you begin with, first of all, the entire AI project lifecycle, right from identifying the problem, requirement, collecting the data, and this data collection is part of like on which the data on which you're going to build your LLMs, large language models, or reusing that content for entire AI cycle. Then we'll be doing which models to select, which training models to do. Then you do the development part, evaluation and validation of those models, and then deployment integration as well as maintenance. So you do one understand end-to-end project lifecycle for AI. You do the something similar for machine learning if you have a machine learning implementation, because you might be using already a pre-trained model and maybe using RAG. So depending on what your requirement is, probably having a good familiarity with AI as well as machine learning models. So you understand, again, go from basics, understand what is AI, what is machine learning, what is generative AI, what is deep learning, what is, and within those models, supervised, unsupervised, NLP, computer vision, generative AI, understand all these basics, and within machine learning, the algorithms that you'll be using. Now, again, um, depending on if you're a developer, you go deeper. If you're an architect, understand a bit deeper. If you're a machine learning engineer, go deeper into that. If you're in a business, or if you're in a leadership, just understand that these things exist so that you have a good idea about. Then you go for basic of deep learning, which is like CNNs or RNNs, GAN, NLPs, and so on. Then also these Copilot from Microsoft, they have Copilot for GitHub, all the different, everyone is implementing these Copilots, which is complementing AI-based systems. How do you build, how do you leverage? If you're a developer, again, Visual Studio Code, GitHub, all these things have the Copilots available for to implement, and so that you get leverage AI from there. Also, as I said, all the concepts, conceptually, RAG, all those things which I've mentioned earlier in Agentic AI, you learn and go a little bit deeper here. Now, once you have the basic understanding, I mentioned earlier as well, gave a glimpse of Python is very, very important, especially if you see the libraries and frameworks, because pretty much most of these projects these days use Python, though you can use Java, or you can do C, .NET, other things for building AI-based applications, but Python is much more widely accepted. So this is where you learn, depending on if you're a developer, you go deeper into. If you're an architect, if you're a leader, then you do libraries and frameworks like, for example, there's a NumPy, there's a Panda, there's a Matplotlib, there's a Plotly, there's a PyTorch, and other frameworks which are mentioned about from Python. You go and introduce and understand them. Also make sure that you prepare, if depending on the job description, if job demands Python, um, depending on the role, you probably have some basic understanding or awareness of Python. That's why we cover and we help and recommend everyone to go Python part as well. Now, another thing is the cloud is very, very important. And now there's a good synergy between AI, machine learning, and cloud. Why? Because cloud you need for, as I said, I hinted you earlier, that all the compute, or which is nothing but your CPU processing. The AI models or machine learning models need a lot of processing. So that processing, and then they also need a lot of data. So cloud provides these infrastructure in terms of data as well for storage as well as compute and cloud. And that's why we always recommend everyone to go through and do the basic good understanding of cloud as well. So understand cloud's overview, cloud service model, deployment model, CapEx, OpEx, all those things, so that when you're going interview, especially for the leadership type of roles, especially from an architect role point of roles, the implementation will be done, a lot of those implementation on cloud. And within cloud, there are two big cloud providers. One is AWS from Amazon, and then second is Microsoft Azure. So have a basic understanding about these cloud services. Now you might be thinking, oh, but I'm doing AI project, or I'm doing machine learning projects, or I'm doing agentic AI projects, or I'm doing more generative AI projects. Why I need to know about other services? The reason why you need to know about other services are that these services, you need to deploy those models somewhere. And that is where compute or containers and Kubernetes, which is another thing that you probably might be having a good understanding, which I'll cover that in a minute. So, and then you also need to know networking, or at least aware how these systems talk to each other, or these models talk to each other across. They need monitoring, management, logging. All these cloud provider provide that by default. So understand them from AWS and Azure. And why we pick these two is because these are the top, more than 50% market share is with these two top providers. And within that, AWS has multiple certifications. I picked up certifications specific to AI and machine learning. So AI, they have an AI practitioner. Even though they are practitioner, they have a lot of AI. They need a lot of good understanding of AI. Then have a machine learning associate and a machine learning specialist. You can do it in any order. It's not like you have to do the foundation first and then associate or specialist. You can do in any order. So you need to do, if you want to show that you know, just from some companies understand or think that if you've done the certification, you have a good knowledge. So we provide these three certifications. So you get complete AI practitioner. How do you do what needs to be done? It's always good for you to have at least one of the certifications. AWS is AI practitioner on that. Now for AI practitioner, there are around 85 questions. It's 2 hours exam. There's no negative marking, and it basically understand the basic concepts, AI, machine learning, generative AI concepts, use cases, as well as the entire AI at the time of it was introduced in earlier in I think 2024, mid 2024, and then now it's in live. So I think I need to change this. We'll change that. It's live now. It's available. So maybe I'll change that wording. Now, in that, we give you and we help you with 7 modules. Basically, understand Amazon Bedrock and generative AI. Bedrock is a tool for generative AI based. Then you understand prompt engineering. Then you go for Amazon Q, which is another one for building. It's a simple business friendly tool to build, develop your generative AI based applications. Then you have a deep learning, machine learning, deep learning, generative AI on this. And then you have a AWS managed AI services like Comprehend, Translate, Transcribe, Poly. Now you don't need to learn all of them, but just to let you know that AWS have already done, you can leverage and use some of these in your business applications. And then SageMaker on it, you don't go much deeper into SageMaker on AI practitioner, but SageMaker is more for more advanced machine learning work. And then this is challenges and responsibilities, responsible AI and guardrails and all those things that you do, especially important from a management and leadership point, project manager, program manager point of view. We give you all the certification sample exam questions so that when you go to the exam, you already know what to expect and the module-wise, domain-wise breakdown on that. And we have tons and tons of guys who've cleared the certification. And I think certification is easy if you know the concepts and so on. So there's a Francis who have cleared the certification. There's a Shikhar who has cleared the certification. There's Rudvish. He was one of the early adopters who cleared the certification within first month in early 2020, mid 2024 as well. So that's from AWS AI practitioner, AI beginners. Now, similar to that, Microsoft Azure or Azure Cloud from Microsoft, they have AI Fundamental, which is AI 900. They also have AI Engineer, which is AI 102. They also have Data Scientist, DP 100, which is Microsoft Certified Data Scientist. So these are the certifications that are available here. So again, AI fundamental is or AI fundamental useful for some if you're working or trying to do AI on Microsoft Azure Cloud as well. So this is an exam overview that's probably around. Oh, so by the way, there's no negative marking on AWS, and same is applicable for Microsoft as well. There's no negative marking, but that's probably around 45 minutes exam. It's quite simple and easy, provided there are 5 domains at the time of recording this video, and we cover what is basically AI intelligence workload consideration, fundamentals of machine learning, computer vision, NLPs, and generative AI. So this is another certification which highly recommend you if you're a leader, if you are project manager, program manager, both this AI 900 is quite good point. So again, I'm not going to go deeper. There is a separate video probably in this channel or some will you be having about AI 900, or if I see demand, probably I'll record. I think there should be something on our blog about AI 900 will be available. Again, all the sample questions, multiple set of sample questions, so you never fail in exams. You have tons of guys who have cleared the certification, like Javed is there. There's another one, Neil is there, Shailendra, Krishna, India, US, Canada, different places. Once that's done, once you have the AI fundamental, then you go for generative AI on AWS. And this is what I was talking about, generative AI in AWS. You have Bedrock. So you do, how do you bring multiple models? How do you register within AWS Cloud so that generative AI can, or sorry, so that my Bedrock can use those on. So this is where you understand AI basics, understanding generative AI, what all those things are, and then you go and look at how do you plan a generative AI project? How do you start using Bedrock? How do you fundamental of prompt engineering, some of those concepts which I mentioned earlier, zero shot, one shot. How do you invoke those within Bedrock. What is Bedrock application components are, the foundation models, how do you bring foundation models? Oh, so LLMs are for language specific. Foundation model are a superset of my LLMs. So that is where not just for language, but for other things, other functionalities as well, these models. And then LangChain, which I mentioned, this is something I think we gave a bonus, which is a framework to build agent-based applications. And then what are the different architecture patterns for building generative AI? So you get all those things as a part of this. Uh, the second framework, the second option I'm telling you, you get all of that. So that's Microsoft generative AI on AWS. Something similar, but on Microsoft Azure Cloud, they have Azure OpenAI, which is now Azure OpenAI services, which is now merged into Azure AI Foundry as well. So you learn generative AI on Microsoft Azure Cloud. There's another thing which is interesting here in both. You will see responsible AI, secure AI. How do you make sure that how do you AI is behaving ethically as well? So especially from leadership roles point of view, and project manager, program manager's point of view, these are important topics that you should be earning. So that's about AWS, Azure AI, AWS AI, generative AI in both AWS and Azure Cloud. And then comes AWS Machine Learning Associate certification, and that's as name suggests. Again, that's also live now. So I think I've taken an old screenshot. Again, this is both live now. Um, so again, 85 questions, 170 minutes you get, and there's a multiple choice questions on that you get. You have everything, all the sample questions, but it's mainly focused on a little bit of data part and machine learning part because as a machine learning engineer, you're doing right from data collection, EDA, exploratory data analysis. How do you clean the data? How do you build? And then start using SageMaker. This is where we go on machine learning studio. Again, guys like Yever from US again, early adopters cleared. Another one, Sridhar cleared the certification of machine learning associate. And then finally, you do specialist. Now, you don't need to do all the three. One is enough. But if you really want to upskill and you want to go deeper into, you can do these certifications. We give you machine learning specialist certification, exam questions, everything. And this is where you go a little bit more deeper into machine learning. But you do these certifications not to just clear certification, but understand and implement these. So this is what you will be learning. You can pause this video and see, or there'll be associated links we can share if you want more deeper into these things. So we give you all the sample exam questions. These are the guys who've cleared the certifications. So as I said, keep repeating. Clearing the certification is easy. What's important is to learn and implement. So this is a stack on generative AI. You have generative AI related stack on AWS cloud. So at the bottom, you have infrastructure, which will be required to build these applications. So from infrastructure, I mentioned earlier, you can have a virtual machine. So you have the containers and Kubernetes. You can have the chips, which will be GPUs for running your machine learning models. So, and then you also have a SageMaker AI through which you can build your GenAI stack or AI stack. On top of that, you have a Bedrock, which is a service from from Microsoft, from AWS, Amazon AWS. And on top of that, you also have Q, and there are different flavors of Q Business and Q Developer to build. It's more user-friendly, more drag and drop kind of a thing, no code kind of a tool for business users to build on Amazon Q. Bedrock, again, it has different playgrounds like chat to build the chat or text or image to build these. Depending on the requirement, it will help to generate generative AI-based applications. SageMaker, as I said, is much deeper, bigger for machine learning building machine learning algorithms as well. And then you also have CI and CD, which I'll cover separate part, which is for administrators, developers, DevOps engineers, or machine learning operations engineer to build CI and CD, which I'll cover when we come to MLOps. That's why I'm going to go deeper. Just wanted to aware this is AWS has this CI CD. Now, this is where you go and do and dig a bit deeper on AWS AI machine learning. Now, first and most important, I'm going to go very high level, but if you have any questions, you can leave a comment what you should or shouldn't be doing. So if you're new to cloud, I would highly recommend you to begin with getting a free cloud account, then testing these services, basic services, which will be leveraged or required later for AI and machine learning. Like for example, you have security, you have S3 for storage, and then security, identity and access management, users, groups, policies, and the basic compute, which is virtual machines or containers and Kubernetes. You also need to understand the data related services like data analytics, data ETL tools like Redshift, Glue, Kinesis, Athena. These, if you want to work on AWS AI machine learning, because if you're a machine learning engineer, you'll be leveraging a lot of these services. And if you're going on installing Jupyter notebooks or machine learning, which is SageMaker, and implementing those. So there's things like SageMaker, TensorFlow, Jupyter Notebooks, Pandas. You should be familiar and do these hands-on labs. Similarly, there's a AI and Gen AI specific services like Bedrock, LangChain, LLMs, prompts. You do hands-on lab related to that as well. Now I'm going fast because I'm trying to create this video to give a 30,000 foot view understanding that these are the things you should be doing. Now, not every role will be required depending on if you're in a leadership role. You may not be doing these labs, but what you should be doing is, oh, there's something like these are available. If you're an architect, probably again, you're not doing all the labs, but some of the labs too, so that will help you in designing and implementing. But if you're an implementer who's going to go and implement these things, you might be doing, if not all, maybe most of those labs as well. Now, this is a reference architecture look like. So have a good understanding of these architectures, especially from an architect point of view on AWS. Now, again, without sounding salesy, if you go and out in the market, just alone these things will cost you if you go on more than $12,000. I'm not here to sell or I'm doing. I'm just trying to say that if you learn these things independently, this is what it'll cost you here. Just wanted to give you a glimpse of what you'll be learning. So that's part one, but out understanding all the AI basics, and then understanding AI on AWS. Similar to that, you go and implement on Microsoft Azure Cloud. You can pick one or two. The more you know, the better it becomes. But also towards the end, I'm going to give you and tell you that how you can learn that quickly without learning everything, how you can get a job, how you can get paid to learn these things, which I'll give you towards end, and the mistakes people are making on trying to learn everything, which I'll give you tips as well. But I'm just giving you good idea about Azure. How do you do this in Azure? As I said, this is AI 102, which is Microsoft Azure Engineer. This is more for if you're a developer, if you're an administrator, if you're someone who want to become an AI engineer, AI consultant on Microsoft Azure Cloud. So these are the hands-on lab on AI 102. I'm not going to repeat the, or I'm not going to go deeper into, just going to glimpse of this. Again, certification is easy. What is more important is doing hands-on lab and the project work. So these are the certifications. Same thing for DP100, which is a data scientist certification. DP100, do some hands-on lab as well on this data science. We have lots and lots of guys who've cleared these certifications, like Abdul, Farhan, Toto, and we have tons and tons of that. Now, within tools and services point of view, Microsoft has a Azure AI Foundry, which basically what to do left hand side, you have all the tools as acting as a client. You could have a Copilot Studio, Visual Studio Code, GitHub, Azure AI SDKs. They can connect and interface with these AI Foundry, which is a service on Microsoft Azure Cloud that has a model catalog. So you have all the different models which you can bring using this model catalog. So you have a foundation models, you can have bring open source models, you can have task models and predefined industry specific models developed by third party, either Microsoft itself or third party providers. Um, like you can have a healthcare specific model, you can have a finance specific model and so on. And then below that, you have different services within AI, like OpenAI service, which I mentioned earlier, that's being now bundled here in AI. You have a search related. So if you want to build a search-based application, you're going to Azure search. This was talking about AI agent service. So if you need to leverage agents, you probably be using Azure AI agent service. And then of course there is safety and so on. Below that, this is all observability, monitoring, and monitoring management, diagnostic, troubleshooting, governance, all these using Microsoft's underlying infrastructure. So that's something you should probably be having a good idea about. Now, this is good for entire AI, generative AI, AI-based applications. But if you want to go more deeper into machine learning, more advanced things, building your own models, developing your own training, retraining, then you have Microsoft ML Studio. So if you see, this is Microsoft Azure outer layer. Within that, you have subscription. This is mainly for billing. That subscription will have resource group. So resource group is nothing but a collection of resources like your networking, storage, compute, databases, machine learning model. Um, each services, they are resources you bring invoke, and then these resources will be in a workspace, which is a machine learning workspace, kind of a boundary on which you will be keeping your machines. You'll be notebooks, to build machine learning models, data, experiment, pipelines, data pipelines, AI pipelines, all those inside that. And then on the right hand side, you have associated services like which will require to manage your machine learning like storage account, insights, keywords, virtual machines, container registry to run containers. So this is associated services, and that's where I said you should have a good idea about, or at least basic idea about cloud to understand and implement these. So these are all existing cloud services on. This is an example of a machine learning pipeline. You bring the data, so you have a data, you model the data. It could be an enterprise data, it could be your systems in ERP, CRMs, or coming your own repository or third-party data coming. There's a data factory, which is another service on Microsoft Azure Cloud to bring a kind of ETL tool if you're familiar with, or stream analytics to bring stream data. Then coming into an staging area, which is your data lakes or SQL Server databases. From there, it's going into the machine learning ML Studio to bring all the data into and training the data that you have bought it from here. And then that trained data will be, there is an endpoint which will be consumed by my services. It could be from SQL data, database data services, or it could be my front end like Power BI or web applications or third party applications I'm integrating for this machine learning pipeline. So that's a machine learning pipeline. Now, brings me to the next part, which is for administrators, machine learning operations, and support. So earlier we saw some part of development, some part of architect, some part of day-to-day operations, administration. But the next part is for someone like who's an administrator and and implementing, and that's where becomes a topic about ML ops. So pay special attention onto the ML ops. Now, any point in time, as I said, there will be timeline. You can jump onto those, but again, towards end, I'm going to tell you how without learning everything you can get a job in literally if you're already working into IT and if you're pretty smart you can do it in weeks like Joby did, or if you're new to, you might take a slightly longer, but definitely very quickly I'll tell about that. So make sure that you watch this thoroughly till end. Let's first focus on MLOps part here. So for machine learning, you have a left-hand side. If you see this is machine learning, we already briefly touched base into. Then you have a DevOps, which is development and operations work team working together. And if you're coming from a software development life cycle, or if you're running any IT for any time now, probably you're already familiar with DevOps. And then you have a data engineering, where the data bringing from multiple sources, bringing into one single place in a lake house or something, so you can run some machine learning model. So intersection of all these three job roles, DevOps, little bit machine learning, and data engineering, that is an machine learning operations where you do um, what used to be DevOps for software development, machine learning ops, ML ops is for machine learning related things, pretty much similar thing, but on for machine learning point. So let me move. Yeah. So your continuous integration and continuous delivery. I'm taking a minute here for those who are not from CI/CD or DevOps background. So CI/CD is typically what happens. CI/CD is you have developers writing a code and they're developing on their machine, but then and they might be doing some piece of that. So multiple developers bringing the data into a code repository and then building a deployable application, integrating them so that, or bringing those all different pieces of code together and creating a deployable unit that's continuous integration, which is you're bringing the data, different piece of code in code repository, and then and then taking it and then deploying that into a deployment system, which could be like, for example, VMs, it could be containers, it could be Kubernetes, it could be web apps, and so on that you deploy. Now, in in um, in machine learning, there's another part which is model experimentation. So you do run your models, experiment, and then you have that is being trained on a data. So you also now need to take care of CT, which is continuously training that machine learning model on the data that you do. So you typically what you do is you have done the model experimentation, you you have the source code, you build it to code repository, and then you create a deployable package. And then you can push it to a container registry, which is, this is the concept we are talking about, containers and Kubernetes. Uh, Similar to virtual machine, you have an image, that you have an image, but for containers and containers, uh, which are run on a Kubernetes. And again, if you're not aware of containers and Kubernetes, don't worry. This is a topic which you should be learning, in my view, highly recommended for you. So you go and push the data into container registry, and then that image can be pulled from the container registry, and then pick packages you do this training pipeline. So you have trained model which is now deployed on this. So this whole part is continuously training your machine learning model on a data that is being done. Now, so if you're working on a typical software lifecycle, you have a code repository and in which your all code is goes. But now in for machine learning, you also need to do machine learning training model and as well as the data associated on which data was trained. Because if there's any data drift or changes in data, you have to retrain the model based on that. So then whatever is output comes will go into model registry. You have container registry, something similar. You have a model will go to model registry, and then that model you go and deploy for model deployment, and it'll go to the uh, production environment, dev environment, test environment, staging environment, typically that you do in typical software lifecycle, same in air machine learning. And then you retrain the model and you give it back. This continuous cycle comes, you go staging environment, dev environment, the way you were doing in software lifecycle, same thing in machine learning, but some extra bits. So that means you have to be now familiar with new tools, new services, new things on this. GitHub Action is a CI/CD tool. I'm not going to go deeper. I'm going to keep it high level, simple for now here. Now, these MLOps, there are third-party tools available, there are open source tools available, but also both AWS and Azure provide their own MLOps within that. So you have this whole MLOps lifecycle on Microsoft Azure Cloud. So, and different actors playing different roles. You might be playing more than one role, or you might be playing one role. So you have a data engineer whose job is to build the data pipeline. So you'll be building data from multiple sources. We saw earlier on MLOps earlier, and bringing data source and pushing that into for getting the data ready for machine learning. You have an MLOps engineer whose job is to have the data, bringing, and then doing the model registry, which means all my models are stored in that registry, so I can use, import, push and pull the model in from there. And then there's a training pipeline, testing, and then deploy that ML ops. And then I have a endpoint that I can give it to my state, different environments, test, dev, thread, prod, and so on. And then you also have a data scientist who will be creating or creating these developing these models basically, and training and model training as well. The QA engineer who will be testing these and deploying testing these models and then deploying on this pipeline. And then you have infrastructure engineer who will be maybe cloud engineer or infrastructure engineer who will be providing the necessary infrastructure like containers, Kubernetes, virtual machines, networking, monitoring, logging, etc. And then you have a software developer who will be doing using that model in their applications as well. So these are different actors. Containers and Kubernetes is very, very important. We'll cover that in a minute shortly here. And then you have a logging, monitoring, all those things. Now, majority of small companies, 1 or 2% do everything. So that's where you can get an advantage of picking these things. So this is machine learning model that you see. Now, there are different tools that are available. Just again, keeping high level, you have machine learning flow, ML flow, and Kubeflow, two top-notch popular tools for machine learning operations. But then you also have within AWS, you have a SageMaker that has entire MLOps lifecycle. On Microsoft Azure, you have Azure Machine Learning that has full. But there are other things like containers and Kubernetes, which is Docker and Kubernetes, that you have to run your machine learning workload. You have DVC or data version control and DAGSub for code repository and so on. They have other tools like Bento ML or GitHub evidently and so as well. So you got a MLOps mastery on once you've understood this, and if you're going for an MLOps, you can go on MLOps and go for right from fundamentals of MLOps to model versioning, model tuning using this here. Then you go and do data versioning. Understand the ML tools itself, data versioning, and do some hands-on lab. Then you go and create a shared machine learning repository and do some hands-on lab related to machine learning repository. You understand AutoML, another feature where you don't need to do machine learning from scratch. There are tools available within SageMaker or ML Studio or third-party tools which will automatically create right model for you and just reuse or make some minor changes. Then there's the explainability and audibility. You also need to know that if a model reached to a conclusion, how it reached to on what basis it reached to a particular conclusion, or how you get the output, or um, how do you audit that output of that model, whatever the result it gave. So there should be explainability and auditability as well for these models as well. And then you containerize the machine learning workload and Docker and Kubernetes. You also do learn how does MLOps work on Microsoft Azure Cloud, MLOps work on Bento ML or AWS or CI/CD, CT, which I mentioned, and then monitoring using tools like Evidently AI or other checks as well. So these are the tools, services that you do. We recommend these hands-on lab. So when you go to the interviews, when you appear for the job, you know you can show them that you have done these things here as well. So I'll just give you one brief idea about here since we are here. So you write the data using Jupyter notebooks, or you have a Visual Studio Code and so on. And your data will be coming from multiple sources. This is a project we do, in fact. So your data will be coming into a data lake storage, and then you analyze using maybe tools like Azure Synapse Analytics or so on. And then you visualize maybe using Grafana or maybe Power BI and so on. But begin, there's a machine learning studio which will be doing training, machine model, etc. as well. And you're deploying that machine learning model on containers and Kubernetes. Implementation of that container Kubernetes on AWS, on Microsoft Azure Cloud is Azure Kubernetes Service. And then you do authentication, authorization, delegation using um, keywords to store the keys. And then you also could be integrated with Entra ID, which is user group policies, all those things, which is similar to Active Directory, not exactly Active Directory, but similar to that on implementation of your um, identity store on Microsoft Azure Cloud. And then you store your containers and Kubernetes into this container registry as well. So these are the things that you should be knowing and doing. Now, these are the project we do, right from developing an ML model from scratch to validating the code into and reprocessing, and then versioning the ML flow using DVC, and then using the repository with DAG sub and ML flow. These are the common implementations that happens. Then how do you build an API for Bento ML if you're more a developer, and then create a front-end application, Streamlit application, and implement CI/CD using GitHub Actions as well. So another project you do, end-to-end project that you do. Now we give you both MLOps on Azure and AWS and MLOps on AWS. You get that as a part of this second option which I'm talking about, which we'll be talking about. And then favorite important topic. If you're working in IT for some time now, you already know containers and Kubernetes are hugely popular. Now, for those who are new to containers and Kubernetes concept, because I know a lot of my audience are users who are not doesn't have containers and Kubernetes experience. So typically what you do is that, as I said, I hinted earlier, the what you have virtual machines or VMs back in 2005, 2006 was containers and Kubernetes in 2013, 14, 15, 16, and so on. They became very popular in 2018, 19. So whatever your web services or small applications run on a containers, and then Kubernetes is orchestrate and manage those containers that you run. So all the machine learning models you can deploy on a containers, and those containers and are managed by Kubernetes. Implementation of that Kubernetes, as I said, on AWS Cloud, you have EKS. So make sure that you are implementing on AWS Cloud, then you have a EKS, and you understand this implementation of this knowledge that you do for containers and Kubernetes. Now, similar to that, you have an on Azure Cloud, as I said just now, it was earlier, it was Azure Kubernetes Service. So you deploy your machine learning model using either a Kubeflow, MLflow, or any other tools like that. But basic understanding of containers and Kubernetes are very important. So give you whole idea about if you're new to containers and Kubernetes, what is containers, what is Kubernetes, what is the implementation of the containers and Kubernetes on AWS Cloud, Azure Cloud, open source. We build containers Kubernetes clusters, and then you install and then you deploy, so that later when you're implementing on machine learning models, you understand this. Now, once this is all done, understand these things, maybe do some projects on AI, generative AI, depending on the use case, depending on the job you're applying. If you're applying for healthcare sector, do this first project. Synthetic data generation is useful for all kind of a project, whether you do whatever do. The challenge comes is in AI machine learning is how do I put the data? Because a lot of companies are nervous in implementing their own production data. So you create some synthetic data, or you create some, not dummy, but on the similar lines of actual, close to actual data. So you create something called a synthetic data generation. You can generate that. You can use in machine learning. You can do personalized recommendations. If you are in banking, you can do loan eligibility predictions or credit card techniques, image vision, LangChain projects. So again, project based on what you're looking for in what kind of a jobs you're applying, and go deeper into these projects so you can write in your resume as an experience on that. And then finally, understand, especially if you're a leader, ship roles, or if you're going for project manager, program manager jobs, understand how the whole AI project lifecycle works, right from requirement gathering to who all the team members are, and all the way till end, implementing and going live on that. So we have trainers who are actual project managers who have implemented this AI. We come and teach to you as a part of AI program, so you understand the whole project life cycle about implementing AI for project managers as well. And as I said, without sounding salesy, if you look at all these things, probably in excess of 28,000. If you go into the market, ideally, and the most important critical part is that you can bring your own projects. So let's suppose you're working with us and you're implementing projects on your job. You can come and implement with us. You can bring your own project. We'll help you on projects and we'll give you all these tools as well. Now, as the now when I'm talking about this sounds too much and too complex. And trust me, initially when I started, I should think like that. But what I've learned is that, and again, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the mistakes which I did so that you don't do. One of the common mistake is trying to learn everything at once. Don't do that. What you should be doing is I follow a old method and a new method, which is old method, which is not working. You've tried, tested, and you started, you gave up. You're probably working on an old method, which I'll be talking about. There's a new method which works. It worked for me initially. And as I said, I transitioned from mechanical engineer to database, DBA initially, apps DBA back in 2004, 2005, to then security, and then to cloud DevOps back in 2012, 13, and then to 18, 19 onto AI machine learning, containers and Kubernetes initially. After that, machine learning 21, 22, and then generative AI 23, and AI now. How I learn these things quickly so that I get paid to learn these things, which I'll be talking about new and fast method. So you don't need to learn all this at one go. Eventually, you need to become an expert, but to begin with, to get a job, you don't need to learn all of them. We'll be doing a selective study so you can get a job. So I'm going to talk about my method, which we use about apply, search for the job, apply for the job, learn what is required for the job, implement it, and then rinse and repeat, fail multiple times, fail quicker. Again, I've hinted you, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper how a lot of my other students have done this. I've done it myself, and we help our placing our students into client side, how they've done it as well, and how you can do as well. We'll talk about that. So that's first part about becoming not confident to super confident. Now, I want you to close at this minute for a minute here. I pause this recording and or the video here and think for a minute. If you know all these things, do you feel confident? Or some part, if not all, will you feel confident on that or not? And I'm 100% confident that if you do all these things, especially the project-based learning, you'll definitely get a confidence to start apply. But you don't need to wait for to learn all this to get confident. Even just some part of that we'll talk about in towards end by taking an example of a job, how you can learn that quickly in a minute. And that brings me the second part of that, which is how to go from no interview calls or you're applying but no interview call to weekly multiple interview calls. So there are two parts in that, as I said, resume and LinkedIn. And I'm going to first begin with mistakes and how to fix those mistakes. As I said at the start, 5 mistakes you might be doing and how you avoid them as well. Now, mistake number one is that people are using same resume, and it's been gone down drastically in last few years. But I interview probably hundreds of guys on a monthly basis, and if there are 4 different job roles, what people do is, for example, one is backend engineer, second is AI consultant, third is tester or governance. If you see now, this is a job screenshot which I've taken from you here in the UK. Now, there are 4 job roles. What people do is they become lazy and then might be doing initially, but as they apply more and more, they have one resume, global resume, and then bombard with every place. Don't do that. That's where it was costing you. Now, I would highly recommend you. I'm not saying to fake anything or lie anything, do anything lie on that resume. Make sure you have same client name and don't change any of those. On first page, you highlight what an employee is asking specific to the job. And if you don't know, work on those hands-on level project and then write down on for your on your resume. So make sure that your first page if is highlighted and recently what you have done is specific to that particular job role. So that mistake number one, having the same resume. Mistake number two is creating a non-ATS compliant, which means there's something called as application tracking system. What typically happens is that before the resume hits an human person, it goes and goes through a application tracking system, and that application tracking system will rate the resume, and based on that, it'll say should I go to the interviewer or not, or a human being or not. So again, they're using AI on that system. So make sure your resume is a ATS compliant resume. And if you're part of a program, in our program, we give you a GPT that will tell you whether it's a resume is ATS compliant or not, and how you make it if it's not. We give you, in fact, we give you whole resume templates and what you need to be doing to make sure that uh, uh, your resume is picked up by, at least from an automation point of view. So make sure that your resume is ATS compliant. Other third-party tools, if you're not our member, you can go and look at the third-party tools available, but you can definitely make sure that your resume is ATS compliant as well. The other thing mistake, and trust me, this sounds like too simple, especially for the guys who are getting interview calls, but those who are not, they make these mistakes, which is writing irrelevant skills. So for example, if the skill is about a technical implementation or AI consultant, uh, then if job is not required, for example, project management, and you have done the project management, don't write about project management skills, even if you know that, because then it'll raise doubts. Are you a project manager or actual consultant, and so on, or vice versa? Change that. So also remove unnecessarily things that are you've done in 10 years back, 15 years back. Like I can still see some guys have you written like old servers and operating systems which I've never used, or they've written skills which they've done it probably 15 years back, 10 years back. If it's not relevant now, it's not going to be used in coming 3, 4, 5 years. Remove that. Also, write down which is relevant to the job description. The more you be specific, the better it becomes. Mistake number 4 is not doing the relevant project. And in fact, that's another thing which I to say tell you is, here's an example of they're talking about LLM's RAG LangChain. So make sure that you write a project which has been done using that particular tools and services, the project relevant to this particular job. So for example, in this case, take an example. If the job you're applying has a legal firm, then you should be applying legal related jobs using what all things that being asked in the job description. Or this is just an example. This was a case which we helped our client who was implementing for a legal firm, and they had a lot of document processing and so on. Similar to that, if you're doing a job demand for about financials, or fintech company, then you do some projects, write down some projects related to the fintech, and you should do that because that's what you're going to ask in the project. Now, for example, if saying familiarity with Docker and Kubernetes, write something about Docker and Kubernetes if you've done and so on. Uh, all that as well. So again, these are the projects we do. Apart from that, we projects which we mentioned about all the additional projects as well. And the fifth and final state problem is about you do no follow-up. Now, it's very important. All the tools itself, all the, like for example, you have a job portal. The job portal gives you an option to send an email after that, or you can this is another tip which I'm giving. For example, this is a job portal, and most of these days, if not all, at least 50 to 60% will have the contact person on that company or who's raised this job. So identify the name of the person and also the company. You go to the LinkedIn and search for that person, and inside and search for the company. If these two are match, and then you reach out to that employer. Use ChatGPT or Anthropic or other. There are a lot of nowadays or Gemini on Google, um, and say write me a cover letter. How do you introduce? Keep it short, quick, to the point, because people don't have time. Just write down. This is just an example of which we share with the clients as well, and then do a follow up by email as well. And then trust me, if you follow these things, 99% problems, or at least, if not, sorry, maybe 90% of the problems will be solved for sure. And if you do enough times of that, exactly what I mentioned at the start, Joby moved from Australia to US. US to Australia. He was already knowing the stuff, but he was struggling to get interview calls. So first we fixed his interview calls. So he started getting interview calls. And also he was not that expert, but to initially to begin with, but the good point was he's brilliant in terms of picking up things and implementing those things. So we helped him in how to get clear the interview quickly, which I'll talk about in the second towards end of this part on once I've explained the three-part process. So he started getting back-to-back interviews and got a job offer within 2 weeks, on point. Another one, Fayong, totally new to cloud, received a job offer. Other one here, Rooney, not confident to confident, is saying, although I've not secured a job, I feel much more confident in my interview skills, as well as helped me a new approach on clarity the mock interviews and my resume and LinkedIn profile helped me to understand on that. We cover something called as mock interviews, which will be before you go to the actual interview, you share the job description, and then on job description, we give you a scenario where you're actually looks like you're actually appearing the interviews. So that if you do multiple times of that, you become habitual of that, and also you feel comfortable once you know what you're going to say. We give you all the tips as well. So that will clear pretty much 90% of the things. Then second part is which is about optimizing LinkedIn. And I do, a lot of my friends do when we interview. I'm on a lot of companies interview panel. I interview a lot of guys. Also, I know a lot of my friends and colleagues who are at the leadership level now who are interviewing. The minute we find someone good, because if you optimize the link, the resume the way I said to you, and if you follow, if you're part of the program, we'll give you more tips and deeper. But if you do that, um, your resume is being picked up, but it'll be too good to be true. So they will go and look at the LinkedIn. So make sure that you optimize your LinkedIn. So step number, LinkedIn is there are two parts in that. One is profile optimization. So you go and there is 13-point checklist you get, but out of those 13, three are important, which is headline. Make sure that headline talks about um, what is important, what kind of a jobs you're looking for. I'll give you some tips because of the time I'm not going to cover these things, but you can pause this video here and look at some of these tips that I'm talking about here. So make sure headline, summary, and experience is important. Also, the image, though it's not important, not mandatory, but grabs attention on as soon as I look at the LinkedIn profile, I see your LinkedIn profile is relevant. For example, this is just an data engineer or Microsoft Azure, but depending on that AI skills, I'll show you to some examples as well so you understand what I'm talking about. That grabs attention of recruiters, employers, and then that's one part about. So make sure your headlines, about section, work experience, and are relevant. You can skill take an endorsements, but for that you have to be a little bit working, but don't worry on things that you don't have, but things that you can control, pay special attention to that. That's one part of this. Here's another example. Here's one example of Debashish. He was part of our cloud program in that he already had Oracle knowledge, but then he then added Microsoft Azure a couple of years back. So we now, if you look at the profile, it says if you look at this profile here, it has talks about Microsoft Azure Cloud. It talks about Oracle. It talks about Azure Cloud and Oracle Cloud one. So looking at the immediately at the profile, I can see, oh, he knows about Oracle. He knows about Microsoft Azure. That gives an authority, kind of a recognition, and employers who's looking for Azure or Oracle probably know about this as well. And this is what we recommend. And this is an example and proof of Michael from UK. I did my homework and updated my LinkedIn profile. And as soon as I did that, I got lots of email for job prospect. This is another one from here, Prasad, US. Hey Atul, got a call from great companies after changing my LinkedIn and resume. TC and full stack are offering $250K and so on. So that's fun part. First part about profile. That is good, but if you want to take it to the next level, so that what happens typically is that um, typically this is an example which I'm going to show it to you here, but what you need to do is you need to write whatever you're learning, write as an authority. I'll tell you, not just simply say I've done this lab or I've done this project or so and so. Write, build your authority. And why you need to build is that once I look at the resume, second I'm going to look at LinkedIn, and if I see you're posting the content in an expert manner, then the employers, you've already won the employer or recruit or interviewer. 90% of my interviews are cleared much before I go for the interview. They already know my profile. I write content, useful content. Here's an example which I'm going to tell you. So this is an example from a cloud, but you can use the same concept for to AI or implementation. So when you implement, um, Joshua, he went into, we give all these labs and project, and we'll tell you how to write on LinkedIn about that profile. So for example, he said that one of my client today, one of my client reached out to me. They have AWS billing challenges. So now it's immediately says clients are reaching out to him. They have billing challenges. They got an alert from AWS, which is a very genuine thing. They pay certain amount of bill. And when evaluated their 1 month of billing services, discovered that bill of each service they actually are not using on day-to-day basis. So uh, they were not monitoring, they were not doing budgets and so on. So this is one of the lab where we say that how do you create a billing alert and budgets. So you leverage that and say this is what we did, this is the recommendation we did. Imagine you're interviewing for a FinOps or a provider. They're very conscious about the billing, and they see this project or they see some, you've written about that, immediately you say, oh, probably this guy know what I'm talking about. Like that you build, and something similar you can write in resume as well on when you talking about depending on the job description again. Now we run weekly resume clinic, we run weekly LinkedIn clinic, profile clinic. So we get we review your resume, we link the resume LinkedIn, we review your critique, your authority as well. And this is what guys like Amol, I'm updating my resume and preparing for interview questions tailored for the job description. Um, I appreciate your attention to details, which we have boosted my important point is that will boost my confidence in my searching my job for my job process. And it has given me, I now feel well prepared and gives me motivation to apply, refining my experience, aligned with potential, more enthusiastic, optimistic, applying for new opportunities. My profile is currently shortlisted in two organizations. So this is an example of the confidence that you lack in case you lack for confidence to apply. Now, imagine if you follow this minute, the resume, the LinkedIn tips, will you get interview calls or not? And if not, that means you're not following some of the tips which are mentioned here. So go and look back on those things if you're not getting interview call. Once that's a step two, we go from no job offer to multiple job offer. I'm 100% confident if you do that and follow the structured approach, you'll start getting interview call. And then the third battle is about doing multiple mock interviews, both tech and behavioral. So this is where you go from no job offer to multiple job offer. And that is where you do the mock interviews. Very, very important. First of all, you need to know someone who knows how to take interviews. And then once they know, you need to be appearing in multiple mock interviews. And that's what we give. We have around 200 plus freelancers, the guys who are working in actual positions, and they're coming and interviewing you on star method. What is star method? We'll talk so that finally question is not about you'll create the interview. Question is about how do you negotiate that salary so that you come as an authority, come and speak as an expert on the domain. So you do scenario-based questions. You do also troubleshooting related things, you situational related things, and depending on this interviews will totally differ from leadership roles to the architect role to the developer role to the MLOps role to the actual day-to-day implementation QA business analyst will differ, and the questions will differ as well. And the question will also differ from job description to job description. Questions will also differ from country to country as well. So we go mainly the kind of a questions are being asked differ geography to geography, role to role, position to position as well. And that is where wherever possible, especially on an experienced, it should be done in a star method, which if you're not, just Google on star, we cover, but on this is made popular by Amazon for hiring their leadership roles as well. Now, as I said, we prepare you multiple mock interviews, job prep session, interview preparation, and this is a calendar for the portal that we use, community that we use, on a screenshot on multiple sessions, resume preparations, on during the weekday, weekends, jump on these sessions and take help for so that whatever I mention, you get a custom help and custom support. Now, again, as I said, objective is to not to know everything. Objective is know enough so they can start applying for the jobs. And then fail fast. We'll use the model from Elon Musk. Fail fast and identify the gaps and fill those gaps and keep repeating till you get. I'm going to talk about that towards end as well. And that is what if you follow this method, which I've saying three-step framework, right from um, right from knowing what is required for that particular job, implementing project-based learning, applying for the jobs with your resume, polished resume, LinkedIn profile, mock interviews. I'm 100% confident you'll hire. That's why you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of guys who have not only learned but got job as well. So Shrija, this is example of I said at the start in August 2024 with a lot of dilemma and uncertainty. I joined dilemma and uncertainty. I was transitioned from DevOps to AI ML, a completely unknown field for me. I had no idea how to overcome the challenges. Now, technical team, structured classes, hands-on practical sessions helped me tremendously. Now, mentorship program is top-notch, guiding me every step with the support. I started marketing my profile. Important point is a lot of guys are expert. They never market their profile, resume, LinkedIn properly. By last week of September, so she came in August. She started in September, last week of September, focusing on resume building, LinkedIn profile, customizations, sharing insights on AML tools, concepts, practical work, and these strategies suggested played a huge role in attracting recruiters. If you're looking for transition to AML or new technologies, just follow structured video. They say success leaves clue from struggling, not knowing to an AIML jobs. This is an example of that. And you have tons and tons of stories. Here, Najib, resume review. And this is on Trustpilot. Resume review, job search strategy, and interviewing preparation, which is truly amazing. I joined K21 Academy in June and received my offer in late September. This is 2024. Again, Joby, I've already mentioned to you. Eunice, I attended interviews from three different companies. I said fail fast. Here's an example of fail fast. One company interview was flop. Totally okay. You'll fail not one, five, six, 10 interviews you'll fail. I'm totally okay with that. But those failed lessons will teach me what the gaps are. They'll teach me lesson for where to focus on. And that's when second and third company interview went well. And I'm expecting an offer letter from both the companies by end of this week. Pradeep, wanted to thank you for last mock-up interview. I passed my technical interview, waiting for the final round, final offer. Mock interviews. Now, if you imagine for a minute, you get multiple mock interviews so that you know, first of all, it'll calm down your nerves, especially for those who have not attended interviews last 3, 4 years. It becomes very challenging. I remember, um, and that between 2007 to 2012, one of the mistake which I did, which I'm going to talk about towards end again, mistake I did was that not appearing in. I was pretty good. I was earning, I think, 500, 600 pounds a day, which was at the time was pretty good money, handsome money for me. Till date, a lot of guys crave. I am much higher rate now. So 500, 600, I was happy between 2006 or 2007 to 2012. I did not do much. And so uh, doing nothing and ultimately suddenly coming to mock interviews, these mock interviews help as well. Now, we don't stop here. In my view, that's easy. Again, certification is easy. Appearing the interviews are easy. Not that easy, of course, if you follow. The actual journey begins once you get a job because that's when the real test is begin, and that's why we go a little bit extra mile. We give you 1 year support on job support in terms of so that you need a little bit handholding, especially first 1 month or 2 months of the job. You're new, you're transitioning, you need that hand holding. I remember when I was transitioning, I was initially it was very tough. I was transitioning from 2004 from my database administration ERP DBA to a security role, very challenging. And first 6 months was nightmare for me, especially I had no support at the time. So next time I was transitioning to cloud and DevOps, I paid a lot of money to guys back in India, um, on guys who were earlier before doing DevOps and cloud before me. I hired them to say be on my side because I was working as a contractor or a freelancer, and I had to be on my toes to answer. So I had someone. So whatever gap I had, I when I started my this training and consultancy, I now have a team who can help on whenever you need. So this is what Srinivas is saying. I got now confidence on taking up a multi-million dollar project. He managed a team of 30, and if you need anything for team, you get a support handy. So you get support. So this is a whole three-step framework going from not knowing, not being confident to super confident by implementing learning, project-based, hands-on based learning, and then preparing your resume as per the job description, and then updating your LinkedIn 13-point checklist, but also the uh, authority, write down regularly as an authority, and then prepare, do the mock interviews, both tech and behavioral interviews, so that you get a job. And it's if you follow this, um, it's going to be, I'm not saying easy, but simple. Um, but everything that you need is laid down to you and given to you as well. So this is where the second option is, which is AI, machine learning, generative AI, agentic AI with 8 certifications. Whatever your role might be, we cover that. Now, because it's a lot of effort on our part, because there's a lot of hand-holding, a lot of support, we only work with the selective guys. We open up 10 seats in a cohort. Why? Because I have unlimited retake option for 1 year, which means we bring all the previous old students as well. So we run multiple batches, multiple times, multiple sessions. So we open up these things. If you're interested on knowing, this whole thing is probably worth way more than 38,000. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to charge you 38,000, but if you see now here, values every penny that I've mentioned here on more than 38,000. If you go to the market, it'll cost you if you all these things you do. Now, one itself is about on-job support. Second is bring your own projects. Third is about resume preparation help, mock interviews. These things are priceless because I wish someone had given me when I needed them. Now I have a team, I can afford that. But how we can afford is, as I said, I'm not going to charge 38,000, but its value is way, way more than that as well. So what, as I said, is imagine for a minute, as I said, even if I charge for a minute 38,000 and it gives you extra 40, 50,000, which is easy, which is possible, totally doable. I go, I say under promise and over deliver, which means you'll make a lot more than what I'm saying here. But this is based on my data, which I've seen that you can earn if you follow what I'm talking about here. So imagine for a minute you get an extra 40, 50,000 just in this year, and then next year and next year, next year, and so all it does is do that, and would it be worth? Or maybe because I was craving for me, I was looking for a remote job or additional work. You have tons and tons of remote job and additional work, and it'll help you in getting that remote work or additional work. Or forget about rest all. I think it gives you, you might risk losing job, especially with AI is coming. You probably risk your losing job, and you have a peace of mind. Now you know the skill so that you can move on to the new things. So it gives an ability through support in your job or upskill so that you never risk losing your job. Would it be worth, especially the peace of mind as well? So as I said, I had two choices: to go cheap and sell as many. And people trust me. I've done that, but I'm not, and I've realized that I'm not able to provide value on by doing that. So I decided to go for a second option, which is a little bit more expensive, but I could add value and make sure that I support you on your journey right from you coming first time or having no idea to making you expert in this domain, and then support you on it. That's why I said I can guarantee your success, provided you guarantee putting the work. So all I'm expecting from you is to put an effort, and then input, which I'm going to tell you about, which we have laid down here as well. So as I said, I'm not going to charge you the, anything like 30 or $40,000, though it's valued more than that. So the URL, and again, we have some offers at times we do. So maybe check the link on the screen below. There will be description under the description or comment section somewhere you're watching this. It'll be there. And so so check that, check out on these things and do when you go, there'll be a page on there to register. There'll be pay, so you enter your details, and there'll be two options we have. One is you can pay for one single payment, or you can go for 4 monthly installments. I think 3 or 4 monthly installment on that if you can't afford. So all those things will be in the page here. You have option to either pay via the debit or credit card or PayPal if you're interested on that. And as soon as you do that, you immediately get access to the whole portal. You get an email from and then email with all the links for WhatsApp group, ticketing system, and you will be redirected to an onboarding page. So you talk to the team, onboarding team, on book a call. So we can give you a customization. So everything which I mentioned is a very, very detailed, but I want to custom made it for you based on important for you. But all those things, especially the basic concepts, containers, Kubernetes, idea, life cycle, those are important for everyone to understand. And then once you have the basic underlying knowledge, you can customize remaining thing based on your things, especially. So you book a call, and your onboarding will give a personalized map, but you have immediate access to the portal which I mentioned, where you go, how do you do LinkedIn, how do you interview preparation, job preparation, resumes, etc., everything that you need, and then you have a calendar. And then also you track, you get a customized roadmap and plan for you in your case. And there is a trackability. Accountability is very, very important for me. And so we give you accountability part like buddy, and you have a progress diary. Every person has their own diary to maintain and track their objective for which they came, and every day what effort they're putting. So there's a every 4 to 6 weeks there is a check on those. We're checking on a weekly basis, but you are doing putting on a daily basis. We are checking on a weekly basis, and every 4 to 6 weeks we revise and rewind and say, are you on track? So like going from take an example, you're going from Delhi to New York, for example. So someone is tracking on a daily basis or on an hourly by hourly basis or minute by minute basis that are we on a track? Same thing here, accountability and so on. Now, I've promised a lot of things. And also you might say, oh, what if I don't get a result? I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried that. A lot of guys say to this, and I've tried this. And trust me, I've made my own reservations. I had my own concerns and questions as well, endpoint. So there's a doubt, which is totally fine. What if I don't get a result? But imagine for a minute, what if it does? Just thought. I'm not saying to agree on me or say that it'll get a result, but imagine for a minute, just in minute, how will it change your life? So, um, but I also am conscious about your time and also what if you don't get a result. And I'm so confident that I give you full money. You have 6 months, more than enough for you to try it out and say if you've done. All I'm expecting is, again, don't do it just half-heartedly, because if you're going, oh, let me see and do, you will never get a result. Go all in and have trust on the process. And if you do the hands-on lab, do the project work and apply at least for the 50 jobs, because I know you have to apply. You may not need to do all the 50 jobs, but we recommend you to do in if you're not doing, depending on your, but people get results much quicker. But if you do the 50 job, every 10 job, if you're not getting interview call, come and speak to, so we can review every 10. And if you're appearing the interviews and not able to clear them, come and speak to us. Just ask. There will be a lot of information, help, support will be there. But if you don't ask, if you've done something which you've given and not asked, and not getting results in your dream results, you come and speak. So as long as you've done the hands-on lab, the project, and the interview, appearing the interviews, and asking for help, if you think it's not worth 6 months, and it's more than enough to try it out. I hope that makes sense. So that will give you the confidence. That also gives me confidence that, hey, what I'm saying is working, and it works. That's why people are registering as well. So you have two options, um, which is just now mentioned, three-step framework, or Agentic AI as well. I've already mentioned Agentic AI. I'm not going to repeat that on here. But if you go to the market, Agentic AI, we go value for money. This is the URL. You can check it out, or come and speak to my team. It's much cheaper compared to the full AI track. But Agentic AI, as I said, is for someone who was already working in AI, or want to go a shorter version, just a Agentic AI or AI agents that you want to do. Same thing you do here. You get immediate access. And here, you don't get in Agentic AI, you don't have a support on interview and resume or LinkedIn, but you know enough about, so you can build your own agents and learn and show it that you know about AI agents as well. So these are two options as well now. Now, I've been going on for almost now close to just shy of probably around 2 hours or so. I've given you too much information over, but I hope now you have a clarity whether we are in or out, whether we are right or not. Now, it's a value for money, which the amount of effort we are putting into you and to results we are giving. I always talk about results. A lot of guys say, oh, how long it'll take and so on. I say, stop everything thinking about how long it'll take. You tell me how much time you have. I can reverse engineer and build the plan for you. And that's what you're going to learn how can get job quickly. Some guys come and say, hey, I don't have 6 months. I only have 2 months. I only have 3 months. So the effort and result you're going to get based on how much effort you put in. But if we give you entire 1 year, which is more than enough for you to get jobs results. So come and ask for results. And it's a value for money, but some people are still think it's expensive. And tell me, I'll take this is where I'm going to take the mistakes which I did on here. I'll tell a little bit story. Please bear with me. I'll try to short and quick. And this is me. As I said, first few years are very tough. I worked way hard to move to UK back in 2004. Started. There's a company which is no more available, no more there now. It used to be, I think, Satyam Tech Mahindra, which is now overtaken by another company. I came working for Imperial College London, and in 2004 I was working, and I saw a colleague of mine who later became my business partner, and I saw he was drawing. I was drawing, I think, 2,400 pounds a month, which is like how much I think, um, if you look at 70, 80 pounds a day, and he was doing 550 pounds a month, which, sorry, 550 pounds a day. So 550 pound a day multiplied 24, 25 days, working days, probably more than 12, 13,000 pounds. And I was doing 2,000, 2,400 pounds. So it's drawing probably more than 10,000 pounds per month extra. And I thought, oh, wow. And before that, I was not even possible, never thought someone can earn that much money. And that was the first open eye opener for me. So I thought I should do this as well. So I looked at the jobs at the time in security. Oracle security was there, identity and access management. So I went to Oracle site. I was working on Oracle product at the time. So I went to Oracle website, and they had a training, 5 days training in Reading, which is around 40 minutes drive from my place, where I was living in London, where I live in London. So that was that training was 3,000 pounds. Such wow, because for me, 3,000 pound, which is more than my month's salary, 5 days off, which means less salary, and then travel. And I was not driving at the time, so train tickets, hotel, it is a lot of money. And being coming from India, money was tight. I never had money. I thought it's not. I can learn on my own. And being a resourceful, and again, with no all due respect to uh, nothing in favor or nothing in against, but I was very, very concerned about money. Like many of you guys, oh, it's expensive. So first thought was expensive, I can do on my own. So started working. It was, I think, January, February of 2004, 2005. I don't remember exactly year. I think it's 2005. So I started learning on my own, weekends, evenings, afternoon, whatever time I could. I was very, very, because it was a huge jump from earning 2,500 to 12,000, in excess of 12,000 pounds, more than 10,000 a month. So I was spending time, and I recently got married at the time. So I was working whatever time I could squeeze in, I did. February, March, April, I have one failed interview to second failed interview, third failed interview. I was keep going and looking. Come October, and my wife said, "Oh, enough. We've tried. It's not working. In worst case, we'll have lose a month's salary, but at least we'll come to know whether it's this is for you cut for this or not." I was still nervous, and I believe me, I know I've never spent that much money on my own learning. At the time before that, I've done some trainings, but on my own, or spend money on college. And that too very cheap in India. I was did from a government, a scholarships and all those things. So I spent October, I think it's October or November. October, I think it will be October, mid or Octoberish. I went for the 5 days course. Third day, I started realizing what mistake I was doing. What the depth of training was very well structured plan. I think maybe a month later, maybe October, November-ish, mid-November-ish, I got my first contract, which is you see the screenshot, 425 pounds a day, and I got a 3 months rolling initially because this was my first time contract, 3 months rolling, and then after that became 6 months and 2 years. That contract went for almost 2 years on every 3 months, and then it rotated 6 months, and they gave me another 6 months rotation. This thing. And that was a game changer for me. And that was first aha moment. Someone can pay me 425 pounds a day. I didn't get 500, but I was happy with 425 pounds after spending 10 years. So in 2006, that was my first lesson. I was reflecting on 2006, how much money I've left on 2006, and this is what I was doing. On that, in 2005, I wasted 70,000 pounds. I lost 70,000 pounds. Let me go back one more time and remind. In Even though I got a contract of 425, I was very happy. Reflecting 2006, in 2005, I lost 70,000. How? If I was doing this earlier, I would have done this training a little bit earlier. I would have earned extra 10,000 pounds per month. Um, remove, and 6, 7 months, I would have done extra 70,000. And that was the first aha moment in 2006. Before that, I was saying is I spent a lot of time. I never valued my time till the time. And the minute I realized, aha, is that, hey, um, in order to save 3,000 pounds, I lost 70,000 pounds. So first lesson of big lesson I did in that year was that one. So now I look at and say, if I have to spend big money, I look at and say, how much money I'm going to make if I do this, or how much money I would lose if I don't do this. So first aha moment was this. And so back in 2012, I'll tell you another story which I failed, another lesson. So there are tons and tons of lessons I've learned on this. So what happened was, so second time came, I'll explain you in a minute how that reflection came and memories came back. So I was trying 425 a day. I did for a year or so, and then I was tickling a little bit more and a little bit more. I think it was 600 something, 500, 600 pounds a day. And that went on for 2012. And I thought I became arrogant. And trust me, I'm no shy. And um, I thought I'm on the top of the world. I know everything, and I don't need to. And it'll keep going for lifelong without thinking that everything comes to an end. Or I need to upgrade myself. 2012 came. Everyone was moving towards DevOps, containers, and Kubernetes. Not containers was new. Everyone was moving about DevOps and cloud. And a little bit of containers I've heard of, never this till 2015, 16. Later, I'll talk about that later. So and I knew nothing about cloud. I knew nothing about DevOps, and the contract started drying up, and I was very nervous on this part. So second lesson I learned is, hey, I need to constantly learn and upgrade. So since then, I learned identity access management. I then learned, I realized I'm not going to make the mistake on that. So second lesson was constantly learn, keep learning. So I learned DevOps and cloud here. I started with Oracle Cloud, explain you why, and then I learned here multi-cloud, and then learned AI, machine learning, generative AI, machine learning. Now I'm doing AI as well. So every couple of years I kept learning. So second lesson is keep learning new things because things change and to update yourself. Second lesson. Now, when it came to learning cloud, I was working on Oracle. So my easy move was Oracle, but no one is doing Oracle in UK. There were some projects opened up, but were internal projects, and no one was teaching Oracle in UK. So I had to fly to headquarters in US and in Oracle HQ, and that means 5 days of flight or 5 days of again another 5 days, but the price was way higher because it was directly with the product management. I had to take a hotel in, and then there's a couple of days before and couple of days after. Now, because I was drawing, I think 600, 700 pound at that time, so stack was much bigger, higher. So all the contracting, losing the contracting rates, losing the flight, hotel, and training fees, same thought came to my mind again, oh, it's expensive. But then I killed it very quickly and say, I'm not going to repeat the mistake of losing 70,000 pounds. I did the training, came here, got first, I think I took a little bit rate cut to move into cloud because I knew that I need to move the cloud. But because I had no experience on cloud, I took whatever rate I could get to enter into because I know I need to take a step back to step forward, to go to step forward. And trust me, I did that. That's my second contract, third contract. This is 700. There's one missing here. There'll be one more, which probably I missed here on the screenshot. So I got a second 700 contract, 900 contract. This is another screenshot. Later, I did multi-cloud, 2015, 16, 17. I started working on multi-cloud. So it's 900 pounds and so on. So lessons is, as I said, don't make the mistake of which I did it is of expensive. Yes, everything is expensive, but am I getting ROI? How much money I'm going to lose by not doing, how long you've been doing. A lot of guys come into the program or ask and say, oh, it's expensive, I can't afford it. I ask them, oh, how much extra you can earn? Easily 40, 50,000, which means every month I would earn extra 44,000 dollars or pounds or euros and so on. And then how long have you been doing it? Thinking it? 5 months, 6 months, 2 months, 3 months. Each month is costing you $4,000. They don't look at that. They look at the cost. Again, I'm not saying whether you go with us or no. I'm not saying to buy from me. Whosoever you buy, go for and learn that quickly. This is what James has to say. The custom curated job oriented program, those who want zero compromise, you cannot go in with K21 Academy. Super grateful I found them. I have tons and tons of guys like that. Naman, again on Trustpilot, K21 Academy knows the value of every penny we invest on the do the justice. The hands-on lab are the best. They know what I'm looking for. Fully satisfied. Another here, Sajid, is saying, overall, I'm happy with that investment in myself. And these are guys who are inside the program. The dividend will pay for it in no time. So don't hesitate. Invest in yourself to lend a team. Now, you have two options, as I said. Life gives you always two options. You can do on your own. I'm not doubting that. You will do. Eventually, you do it. But it's going to be complicated, confusing, boring, uncertain, stressful. You will lose morale. There'll be no accountability. Why I'm telling you? Because I've done all this. I've done multiple times in early career. That time I had no money. I had no other option. I didn't know even that till the time. Till I went into 9 months misery in 2005. So yes, you can do, or you can learn. They say success leaves clue. Learn from someone who has done it in before you. This is Trustpilot Salim. Okay, the best experienced teachers. They're the best so far, even for beginners. Oksana, she's part of the program. She got a job as well. They provided great value support. Definitely get a job. Excellent communication. Very professional. Joshua, I think one of the curriculum is job focused. They have experienced instructors and good support system. I have multiple instructors. We bring expert in each domain. You want to learn project management or for AI? One expert. You learn agentic and within agentic also big. So depending on architect, developer, administration, MLOps, interviews, resume, LinkedIn, different. This is Anijon. She was that very, oh, I was very skeptical, to be honest, we was very skeptical about paying for the course. Or someone like me who has decided to change career in her 40s, and that too on an entirely different domain, it's crazy. But on the brighter side, if I pay X amount, I've confidence I'm getting a bigger ROI. I just believe in yourself. These are guys inside. And proud she got a job, and pretty much almost everyone who, as long as you follow, again, I say there's a 100% money back guarantee, but you need to do the work. Without work, no one can give you result. So as they say, imperfect action is better than perfect action. Feel, people wait for coming the perfect time. Oh, I can't apply for so and so. Oh, I can't do this because of this. They look for becoming perfect. Don't do that. imperfect action. And this is what I'm going to talk about is the step which I mentioned about how do we learn quickly. So you to learn and you to fail fast as well. Before I talk about that in a minute on the things that you do change on how to get a result, very quickly I'll talk about the common question you might. And if you have any questions, I'll give you an option to book a call with my team if you have further questions or leave a comment here. So first of all, one question is it's what is the duration of the course? Uh, Now, first of all, I tell them that hey, I can I can give you entire I can teach and teach and teach and teach, but if you don't get a result, that's a waste. So my objective is not to count number of hours. My objective is not to count number of sessions. My objective is not to know how many sessions I've done. And that shouldn't be either for you as well. What you should be asking is whether it's us or anyone, hey, am I going to get result? This is my result. I leave it to you as a coach, as a mentor, as a guide, and tell me how quickly I get a result. I have this timeline. Can I get a result in this timeline? And if yes, how? So ra- whatever it takes for us to get that result, that is what we're going to promise. So we promise the end result, end game, which is result. One is more than enough. We give you 1 year, which is more than enough. But I think don't need to wait anything from a couple of months to maybe 5, 6 months, depending on couple of weeks to couple of months, depending on the background. Class timing, we again, majority of sessions run on the weekends, morning US morning hours, Canada morning hours, afternoon for Europe or UK, and evening India time as well. So, but we also do multiple batches multiple times. There's the weekend sections. Sometimes we do weekday bonus classes. So we do whatever we think will complement in your learning. We do in bonus, like for example, Python we do, or some interview preparation, resume preparation, LinkedIn, so that you can do. But everything will be recorded as well. Now, how many hours do I need to invest per day? It all totally depend on the uh, how quickly you want to get a result. But 3 hours on the weekends and maybe 1 hour, 90 minutes or so on a weekday is enough to. But if you want result quickly, do a little bit more. If you have time, do more. If you don't have time, learn at your own pace. Don't stress out. Enjoy this learning as well. Another one is, hey, do I learn coding? Do I need a coding? Now, again, as I said, if you're in a leadership role, you don't need at all. If you're a project manager, program manager, don't need. But know enough what libraries, what frameworks, what things I need to know so you can talk in the language of your developers. You can talk to their in them with their language. If you're an architect, you to know what libraries I'll be invoking, frameworks, which programming language the, the, the users will be using or developers will be using, sorry. But if you're a developer, go all in. Learn Python, we give you Python, as I said as well. But if you are administrator or someone you don't need to learn, you do know enough so you can talk with the developers. But there are a lot of AI tools, like no code, low code tools as well. Now, can I continue learning after the course end? So yes, absolutely. The whole point is about is the course never ends. Learning will continue. So learn will give you the entire 1 year. Is this live? Yes, it will be live interactive sessions. The recording will be available before, and then also we have done all the labs recorded. So you can watch lab at your own pace, projects, concepts, and before you come to the class, it's not mandatory. It's always recommended to watch the videos before you come to the class so that um, so that when you come into the class, you know what to expect. You can ask more intelligent questions. You can ask, but it's not mandatory. We're going to cover all this live. And then recording will be available. So we'll record every session. So if you miss a session, you can always go and look at the sessions on recording. And then finally, what guarantee uh, do I have? What guarantee I have? Would I decide workshop is not for me? So if you're thinking coming with a doubt that, oh, is it workshop or for me? Don't join. Don't join to test. And anyway, we have limited seats, so be careful in terms of we need 100% commitment. But one thing is for sure, if you've done the work which I'm asking you to, and if you don't get a result, all you need to do is show us a record saying that you've done the work. So there's a 6 months money back guarantee, but you have to do the work, which means screenshot. I hope that's fair and right as well. So as I said, if you have further questions, you can have a book a call, but we only selectly. So if you reject your application, there might be you have not filled the application. So make sure that you fill the application properly. Not everyone is fit for this as well. For this, so you can URL below the screen, put a time which is convenient to you, and make sure that you fill this form carefully because we'll say also especially the LinkedIn profile to see I can help you because I don't want to invite everyone and anyone. only the hand pick we pick on this. So we are very, very selective and careful as well. So when you fill the form, you'll be landed onto the what other members who have got the result. This is me talking to you. I've shown the proof screenshots and their URLs, LinkedIn's, but you will hear some of the guys. So make sure that you watch it. And we have tons and tons of results on it'll be director page, all given on website as well as so you can see these guys who are actually the screenshots we get every day, almost every day on results for that. So we have tons and tons of guys who got the results as well. So as I said, with that, I'm going to wrap up the final part of this section about how do you get jobs quickly, which is taking imperfect action on work. So mistake, as I said at the start, mistake people do is that trying to learn everything at once. Don't do that. What you need to do is there's an old method which was, oh, I try to learn everything. Learn, and then do certification, and then start applying for the job. By the time you come, things are changing very fast, new things come, and then you go that cycle. Or you go and realize, oh, by the way, these things which I've learned, companies are not even asking for those. Now companies are asking for this or that. So what you do is something is saying learn and apply, learn and apply. So what you do is new method is go to the job portal. First, you have some basic idea about services. So just a couple of days are enough to understand the overview and concept. So you can ask the search what kind of a job you're looking for. Then go to the job portal, look at some of the jobs, idle jobs that you know, do, and then look at how much you know and how much the gap is. Out of those gap, look at and ask team, ask us and say, hey, this is the job description. What hands-on laboratory project I need to do to appear for this interview? And then you prepare resume based on the job description and highlighting the hands-on lab and project we do related to that particular job. Apply. Now, you should start getting interview calls. If not, focus on your resume, focus on your LinkedIn. Once you start getting interview calls, go and appear in that interview with an assumption that you're going to fail because you don't know enough about right now. And then, but as soon as the interview is done, bring back those questions and say where the gaps are in your learning, and go deeper into come and speak to the team and look at and say, how do I apply for the jobs? Oh, sorry, how do I do it better next time? So now you know out of 10 things, you only know 2, 8 are missing. You work on those 8. You next week again go and apply for the more jobs. Look at the out of now you know 4 things. You will fail again. You do third week again, you'll fail again. Like that 4 or 5 times you'll fail, but by fifth or sixth interview you start getting the confidence, and you know now what you need to work on and work collaboratively. This is a shortcut method while you're still learning all those things step by step. We teach you step by step process as well. And that is a new method which is working. That is how I have done all these contracts which I've received. I get every couple of every 6 months or a year, I change the contract for 2 reasons. First of all, I want to make sure that I'm on the latest technologies. Second thing is that my rates are very, very high, and I work for just a couple of days with the client so that it's also not very expensive for them as well. So we work for both of us. I enjoy working on latest technologies as well. So this is how you go and apply. So what you do, search for a job, apply for the job, learn what is required for the job, implement that, and then go to the interview, fail, and then keep repeating this process. That's how people get results. I've got tons and tons of guys who got a result, and I'm sure you'll get as well. So with that, I'm going to wrap up this. Thanks for listening. It's been lengthy. I think in my one sitting, this is one of the longest video I've done in one sitting, but I'm very, very excited about this thing. So this is whole 2 options you do. Pick it what is right for you and come and speak to my team. If you have any questions, book a call. As I said, is that you get everything that you need in terms of this. This is very, very comprehensive program that we do. And this is the option that we do and available for you. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. This is all right from beginners to become an expert 3-step framework to go on. And if you have any questions, this is the framework which we mentioned. Do let me know if you have any further questions, and do let me know what you could have done better so that next time I do, I make sure that I provide value. Was it enough? Within this video, if you have any specific topic that you want to me to go deeper, I'll create those videos around that as well. So stay tuned, keep watching. And once again, thanks for listening. Do share it with your friend and colleague because we learn in a group. And this is my sincere effort to make sure that we become the best known. We are already there, and we are constantly growing and exponentially growing. So big thank you for listening. Do share with your friends and colleagues, and do let me know if you have any questions or anything else I could have done to make it better experience for you. Thanks, and take care, and bye for now.